This is Rob Tebber for Boxing Social, and welcome to the Boxing Social podcast, a new show bringing you reactions to the latest fights and upcoming cards, as well as exclusive interviews and everything in between. We'll feature live guests, as well as pre-recorded interviews and footage with some of boxing's biggest names. This week, we'll react to Canelo Alvarez's win over Rocky Fielding in New York, preview the upcoming White Chisora and Warrington Frampton cards, and we'll be joined in the studio by light heavyweight contender Anthony Yarde, Joshua Buatsi's opponent Reynold Quinlan, as well as our new feature, the 10 Count with Shane McGuigan, and being joined on the phone by WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman, as well as Tyson Fury's trainer Ben Davison. I'm delighted to be joined this week, and hopefully many weeks more to come, by my co-host, the Doncaster de la Hoya, the White Rhino, popular heavyweight, Dave Allen. Dave, nice to see you.
Hello Rob, hello everyone. It's nice to be here. Big week of boxing coming up. A few big weeks of boxing just gone. Looking forward to discussing it with you.
Absolutely. Got plenty to talk about for what's coming up, but let's start with this past weekend. We saw Saul Canelo Alvarez claim the WBA regular super middleweight title with a third round TKO of Rocky Fielding. First of all, Dave, what did you make of the fight?
I think what we saw was a real elite level middleweight beat up a good domestic level light heavyweight, still making super middleweight because there's probably £1 million on the table. A good big man will beat a good little man, an exceptional little man. Not a little man, but an exceptional smaller man will beat a good big man. And I think that's what we saw Saturday. Just levels and levels apart, I'm afraid, on Rocky's part.
Let's just talk about Rocky Fielding's performance. As you mentioned, he was the bigger man, the longer reach, but didn't really try and implement that from what I could see. Do you think that he could have done anything different, albeit against an elite level fighter like Canelo?
It's easy to look on the outside and say, look, Rocky should have done this, he should have got on the jab, he should have used his size, he should have boxed at distance, he should have done this, he should have done that. The strength of Canelo Alvarez straight away would have hit Rocky like a ton of bricks, and he would have thought. It's just easier sometimes to fight on the inside. Some people say it's brave to fight on the inside. I fight with my face quite a lot. It's easier than boxing on the outside. It's easier it's easier on the lungs, that's one for definite. It's easier on the legs. And in three, it's just easier to fight on the inside. So I think he's felt Canelo's strength and he just thought, you know what, let's just go on the inside. And I don't want to say to get it over with quicker. I think Rocky's probably thought, you know what, this is my best chance of landing a shot. Shot he hit Brophy with, something like that. He's probably just hoping to land one of them. And if he doesn't, he probably knew Canelo was going to take him out. And there's no shame in it, and there isn't. But really and truly, I find it as anything negative about it because he was just well over his head.
What did you make of Canelo's performance? I mean, Canelo's somebody who's been in with Golovkin, Lara, Mayweather, Trout. He's been in with kind of a who's who. Is it tough to kind of gauge where he's at as a super middleweight against Rocky Fielding? He's not in there against Callum Smith, David Benavidez, who's Guy, somebody else who holds a belt in there. What did you make of Canelo's performance?
It's very difficult to say. You go from Golovkin to Rocky Fielding. I don't want to sound like I'm giving any kind of grief to Rocky Fielding. I think Rocky Fielding's a very good fighter, a good British champion, European level, but Saul Alvarez is not even world level. He's elite. He's arguably one of the top. He's easily the top 5 fighters on the planet. Lomachenko, Usyk, and then realistically, we're talking Alvarez 3, maybe Golovkin. You're talking he's one of the top 3 or 4 fighters on the whole planet at any weight. Rocky Fielding really, for me, hasn't proven himself beyond European level, which is a fantastic level, like one I wish I could achieve one day, and many others. But when you compare him to a fighter like Alvarez, he's just not good enough for that level. And not many fighters are. You're talking a very, very small percentage. You're talking 99% of fighters in the world. Someone says to me yesterday, 99.7% of middleweights and super middleweights would be out of their depth with Canelo Alvarez. That's the mass for you. And Rocky might have been bigger. He might have had all these attributes in his favour. He's just not as good as Saul Alvarez. Not even in the same league. And that's not a slight on him. That's just facts.
Very particular mathematics from you there, Dave.
Well, I do. I know my numbers and that, and it's just people getting on at Rocky. The fight was put to him. The fight would have been put to him. You can fight in Madison Square Garden, I believe it was, against the biggest name in boxing, and you can do it for X amount of money. Got to be £1 million upwards, I believe. You're not going to turn that down. It's not his fault. For me, I'm not saying it was bad matchmaking. Rocky's the champion. He needs to defend his title. Why not do it for the most money on the biggest night against the biggest name? So is it bad matchmaking? I don't think so, because he's got to defend his title. The people looking after him, Eddie Hearn, his management, they've done a fantastic job, really. But for us fans, I wish we'd have seen Canelo fight a Charlo, a Jacobs, and I wish we'd have seen Rocky fight someone else in a more winnable defence. Because really, it's a WBA regular title. You know, I would have preferred to have seen him defend it and win it. But then again, I'm happy that he's made his money. Hopefully, he goes away and enjoys it now.
You mentioned that with Canelo. It seems to me like regardless of what you think about the two fights against Golovkin, both highly controversial decisions. Middleweight is kind of... Golovkin ruled middleweight for so long, and it's kind of now at a point where, although Canelo beat Golovkin, you've got, as you say, Jamal Charlo, you've got Daniel Jacobs, Billy Joe Saunders, obviously just returning from his drugs pan, Demetrius Andrade. There's kind of a lot of guys to sort it out now to be sort of number one in the division, which is kind of what I would like to see Canelo Alvarez do next. Who would you like to see him fight? Would you like to see him return to middleweight, or would you like to see him stay at super middleweight?
I think he's a middleweight. I don't think he's a super middleweight. You know, Rocky was by far the bigger man, and I think you put him with Callum Smith. I think Callum Smith would beat Alvarez. I think he's too big, and not only is he too big, Rocky Fielding may have been too big. But like I said, he wasn't good enough. I think Callum Smith is big enough, and B, good enough with his size. You know, I'm not saying if he was on an even playing field in terms of size. I'm not saying he's a better fighter than Alvarez, but I'm saying with the extra size, his ability is more than good enough to beat Alvarez, I believe. So I don't think we'll see Canelo back at super middleweight in the near future. I think there's a lot of big fights at middleweight, a lot of big money fights, and I think in Mexico they will want to see him take them fights. They don't want to see him fight the likes of Rocky Fielding too many more times, you know, because I didn't watch Fight Side. I watched it Sunday, and I thought, for me, I'm glad Rocky he made his money and he got his chance. But for me, you know, how many fights he get in a career? I know he's not up over 50 now, but how many fights he get in a career? Really, he's going to fight 2 or 3 times a year realistically. I feel like that was a bit of a waste on Saturday night. I feel like that could have been Jacobs Saturday night. It could have been Saunders. I know it couldn't have been Saunders, but it could have been Saunders. It could have been Jarrett Hurd. It could have been Andrade. It could have been one of these. And I feel like, yeah, he's picked up his 3rd world title in a way. And you know, I didn't see it as a real world title. I wouldn't count it as a 3rd weight division that he's won a world title in. But for me, Saturday night for him could have been another fight that would cement him as an all-time great. And I think he will get there. But you know, I feel like Saturday was a bit of a wasted night for him.
Just going away from the fight itself, I mean, you've alluded to it there with the WBA. They've got the regular title. I think at cruiserweight they've got 4 versions of the world title. What do you make of that? When I speak to a lot of people who are at best casual boxing fans, they point to the fact that there are so many different belts as one of the reasons that it turns them off boxing. What do you make of kind of the state of, not singling out the WBA, but as I say, if you've got 4 cruiserweight world champions, you kind of deserve it a little bit. What do you make of that? Like the kind of fracturing of belts and a regular belt and a super champion and a super duper champion. What do you make of that?
As a boxing fan, I don't like it. You know, the days of one and two world title belts in the 70s. I think there was WBC and the WBA back in the 70s. You know, the IBF came along, the WBO came along, the IBO has come along in recent years, and for me, you know, I think it takes away a bit of the prestige of being a world champion. I think there's a lot of fighters over the last 10, 15 years that become world champion that, you know, back in the days of 1 world title per 1 or 2 world titles per division wouldn't have even got a look in, wouldn't even been in the top 10 or 15. Look at Charles Martin. In an era of one or 2 belts per division, he would have never got a look in. There's numerous fighters that wouldn't have. So, as a fan, I'm thinking, you know what, I wish we could get rid of all them. But as a fighter, I think it's great for us fighters. Look at Rocky Fielding. 1 or 2 belts per division, he wouldn't have got near a world title fight. Luckily, he has. He's picked up a WBA regular. I think it was the regular, and he's earned himself £1 million plus pounds. Hopefully, I don't know what he's earned. Hopefully, he's earned massive money, you know, out of it. So for us boxers, it's fantastic. It gives us more chance to earn. Gives us a chance to become a world champion for whatever that means. Towards, you know, if I won a WBA regular, I'd be very happy first and foremost. But secondly, you know, I know I'm not the man, but you know, it just gives us boxers more opportunity to make more money and make a better career and better life for ourselves, I guess.
And moving away from that fight, I mean, you've just mentioned the WBC, the famous green and gold belt. We saw the WBC World Heavyweight title defended by Deontay Wilder in somewhat controversial circumstances, I think it's fair to say. Split draw against Tyson Fury. You're somebody who knows Tyson well. I know you watched the fight. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you thought of it?
You know, I admire Tyson massively as a man. I'm a massive fan of him as a fighter and a man. I watched the fight. I stayed up and watched it. It was the only time since Hatton Mayweather that I've stayed up easily. And that night I was 15, I had loads of mates around, so it was easy. This is the first time as a grown man that I've stayed away easily. I was really excited. I remember watching the first 4 rounds, and I think I had it 2 rounds apiece after 4 maybe. And then I think Tyson pulled away. The knockdown was in the 9th round. So I think I had Tyson 4 up going into the 9th. The 10th round brought it back to 2 rounds ahead. I think then Tyson maybe won the next 2. And then the knockdown again brought it back to 2. So I had Tyson winning by 2. I think I had it 114, 112 possibly. I think that's how I scored it. But, round by round it was closer than what it was if you just watch it as a 12-round fight. If you just watch the fight, you're not going round by round, you're just watching it. It appears that Tyson has outmaneuvered him, outboxed him, outskilled him, outfoxed him. But if you're scoring it round by round, I can see the case for a 114, 112. And if you give a 1 round again to Wilder, it's a 113, 113 draw. So for me, as a massive Tyson fan, like I say, as a person, as a fighter, I can sit here and I can say, you know what, I thought Tyson won. If I was scoring it, I would score it to Tyson. To give it a draw, it's not in the wildest. I wouldn't say it was an impossibility to come up with that scorecard.
I think general consensus was that Tyson won the fight. I mean, I scored the fight 114, 112 at the first watch. I actually scored it 115, 111 once I watched it again. Just how good of a performance is that, given everything that he's come off the back of? And also, you've mentioned the fact that he's kind of at 60%, he's at 70%. What does that say about Deontay Wilder? Somebody who has been active. That was a lot of people before the fight were kind of pointing to the fact that Wilder's been in with, taking Luis Ortiz out of the equation. Good, not spectacular opposition, but been active. What does it say about Wilder that Tyson Fury can come in there on 60, 70%, as you say, and arguably beat him?
Well, Deontay Wilder for me is not a boxer. He's an athlete. He is a basketball player. Or American football. He's built like a basketball player. He's an exceptional athlete. I'm sure he can run very fast. I'm sure he can jump very high. I'm sure he can do all these impressive things. He's not a natural fighter. He's a very tough man. We spoke about this. The other week, just after the fight, and we couldn't believe how tough he was. Like, I thought when Tyson hit him, he would go. Like, I've for some reason, they held him back for 29, 30 till he boxed Jason Gavin. Jason Gavin was like a step up in fight 32, I believe. I boxed Gavin the fight after, and he boxed Wilder the fight before. And I was worrying about Jason Gavin, thinking, oh my, like, Deontay Wilder just fought him in fight 32, and I boxed Jason Gavin and I thought, they're hiding something under Wilder. I thought it was his chin. Duhapper's hurt him. He's been down in the amateurs, he got put down early as a pro. Tyson hit him with heavy shots, and Tyson can punch when he wants it down his shots. So, first and foremost, Wilder, he proved to me he's a tough man. He's 15 stone, and he's been in there with some of the best heavyweights around now, Ortiz, Fury, Spielke can fight. Duhapper can fight as well. And Duhapper's that we saw box Miller, he's a faded force now. I think the Wilder fight took everything out of him. Wilder for me is an exceptional athlete, very tough, very game, very strong, very powerful. He's got all the physical attributes, but he hasn't got any skill whatsoever. I just don't think he's just not a natural fighting man. In terms of you could have him in the gym every day for 10 years and he just can't pick up the little things, and that's what Tyson's got naturally in abundance. So in a rematch, Tyson plays with him, and I'm very confident in saying that.
I mean, you mentioned a rematch, and this is something that we've spoken to Tyson Fury's trainer Ben Davison about. By all intents and purposes, it might not be guaranteed that fight is next for either man. Having said that, is that the fight that you want? Would you like to see them two fight again, or would you prefer to see one of them go on and face Joshua?
What I want to see is Joshua Fury for all the belts. I feel like it would be a disservice to British, not a disservice, but I would love to see Joshua Fury for all the belts. That'd be at Wembley Stadium. I don't know, early 2020. I'd love to see Fury Wilder rematch at some point next year. Fury pick up the WBC title, Joshua get a few defences in, and that fight, April, May time 2020 for all the belts, is the biggest fight in British boxing history. But any fight with Wilder, Fury and Joshua and that little triangle there is exceptional. These three heavyweights hopefully can go on to prove to be as good as Lewis, Bowe, Holyfield, Tyson of the early 90s. Hopefully, and obviously Lewis went on to mature into an exceptional fight even late into the 90s, early 2000s. But hopefully now we can finally say, because as long as I've been involved in boxing the last 10-15 years, the heavyweight division has been dormant. There's not been anyone there, but now these three men alone are bringing it back. And if Dylan White beats Chisora, he can get in the mix. And I really think we're getting to a stage now when we head into 2019 and even into 2020. There's a few others that are coming through, and I'm a heavyweight as well, but I see everything around me. I think we're really going to start bringing the heavyweight division back into prominence, and I think it's going to be as good as it was in the 90s, if not the 70s.
Talk to me about Ben Davison. A lot of scrutiny about him entering the fight. Everybody knows Tyson Fury's kind of long-standing relationship with his uncle Peter guided him to that win over Vladimir Klitschko. Ben Davison was kind of labelled with this inexperienced tag beforehand. He's a young man. He turned 26 during fight week. How impressed were you with what Ben Davison was able to do with Fury?
Well, I first met Ben November 27th of last year, which is nearly a year to the day that I boxed Wilder. I rang Tyson, and I was doing my own podcast at the time. I said, Tyson, I'd like to come through, get you on there. He said, you can do the podcast, but you're going to have to spar with me. I said, what do you mean? He said, you have to do a few rounds. So I'm weighing 27, 28 stone. So yeah, don't worry about it. I thought I was going to go and beat him up. So anyway, I went through. I met Ben for the first time then. Young kid, obviously, younger than me. So I looked at him. I didn't know him at the time. I recognised him from doing the corner for Billy Joe against Akakov in Glasgow. Shook his hand. He seemed like a nice fella. I didn't really get to spend much time with him that day. I then went back as a sparring partner for the Sefri and the Pianetta fight. Spent more time with him. Really nice fella he is, and over time, because he's very smart, as we were saying earlier, he's very smart, very well spoken. He knows his boxing. He's obviously been around it for a long time, but still at 26, there's a lot of question marks around a 26-year-old. Not only in what they know, in terms of can they deal with the environment of being in LA in a main event for the heavyweight championship of the world. So first and foremost, you got to have the know-how. Second of all, you got to have the mental strength to be able to put that know-how into the correct words, in doing it in the correct manner, in the corner, keep Tyson relaxed, and then get across what you want to get across and do it in the right manner. For me, I thought he did an exceptional job. It wasn't just what he was saying. Obviously, what he's saying is important, but as a boxer in the corner, first and foremost, for me, I want to go back to the corner. I want my coach to roll. He's there to look after me. He's there to calm me. He's there to relax me. First and foremost, his job is my safety. When I go out to the corner, I want to be relaxed. I want to be given a drink. I want water over my head. I want to be asked if I'm all right. I won't even answer. I'll nod, and that's what we did with Tyson. His advice was great, but for me as a fighter, I'm not looking at his advice as much as I am his mannerism with him. There was no panic. It was all positive. It was all positive feedback, and then the boxing advice that he gave on top of that was great. It wasn't. You see some coaches saying, well, "I want you to do a triple left hook and a roll. I want you to turn him. I want you to do a cartwheel, a backflip, and then finish with a jab." It was just short, simple. This will work. This will work. The thing in the corner you don't want to hear is, "Don't do this. Don't do that." You want to be told, "Do this. Try this. Do this." And that's it. That's all he did. It was simple. He's a very intelligent young man, and it was a massive task taking over from Peter, because Peter is an exceptional coach. I used to be very close to Peter. I trained there. Good man, good trainer. Very, very big shoes to fill, especially with Peter being Tyson's uncle, But I'm very happy for him, because he's a good man, and he's proved himself now, and hopefully now him and Tyson can get on with the job without anyone questioning him,
Now, as I mentioned earlier, we actually spoke to Ben Davison on the phone earlier from Orlando, enjoying a much-deserved break. Here's what Ben Davison, Tyson Fury's trainer, had to say to us when we spoke to him earlier on today.
One thing that I keep hearing about the fight, which is silliness, is about the scoring. And I keep hearing that people say, with the 2 knockdowns, it's 4 rounds already. It's not 4 rounds, it's 4 points. There's a big difference. With 2 knockdowns, let's say the 2 knockdowns happen in the first 2 rounds, there's still 10 rounds to play for. Now, if Tyson was to win the rest of those 10 rounds, or anybody, so to speak, it would be 10-4. Wilder would have 4 points, Tyson would have 10 points, okay? That's a 6-point difference. For a score to come a draw, you'd have to take three of those rounds and give them to the opponent. So you take 3 away from 10 to the 4, that would make it 7. And the 10 would come down to 7. So it'd be 7, or the equivalent in boxing terms is 113, you've got a draw. For Wilder to get that position, you'd had to have won 5 rounds, including the knockdowns. And I just can't see that. 1 or 2 rounds there that are close. There's 1 or 2 rounds there that are close. You can give it 115, 111, or 114, 112, in my opinion. Depending on how you see a couple of rounds. But like I say, I can't see 5 rounds that Wilder's won, including the knockdown rounds. I can't see that. No, not really, because we have to have a look at a lot of things, because going over there again is obviously a big risk, like we've already seen. It's a big risk, but you need a big reward, and you have to look at the numbers that it's done. Or do we do it over here? We've already been over there. Do we do it over here? And if we do it over here, it has to be a stadium fight, which would probably mean it would be in the summer, which probably means that Tyson needs to get out before then. So there's lots to think of, lots to have a look at, and we've got to assess the situation first. But could it potentially happen? Yes. What do I personally think myself? I think that Tyson's been out of the ring for 2.5 years. I think that they come straight back and steps in to fight one of these 2 men. He offered the fight to both men. He offered the fight to Anthony Joshua when he first was coming back, and then he managed to get a deal done with Deontay Wilder within the space of 12 months. But the deal got done within the space of about a week. And I think myself personally, those 2 need to get on now. It's been 3 years. They've not managed to get a fight organised between the pair of them. I think them 2 need to fight, and Tyson will fight the winner of that. That's how I see it should be made. To me, I think Tyson should come out and explain that at the end of the day, I've shown you boys how it's done. It's about time that you 2 both step up to the plate. And I think that needs to happen. I think it's damaging for the heavyweight division. If Tyson hadn't stepped up for that Deontay Wilder fight there, then it would have been a shambles for the heavyweight division. But because he did, he took the heavyweight division to another level. In some ways it was, but in other ways it's not his full potential. How can it be? When you've lost a light welterweight off of your body, a person off of your body, it's going to take its toll. Although it's a step in the right direction, because when the fight was getting made, I was adamant we needed time, at least a little bit of time, for Tyson's body to rest and recover from that weight loss before going into a training camp for a fight of that magnitude. So the fight was originally trying to get booked in for November. I managed to get it pushed back to December. But again, a bit of rest period now and this Christmas time off, and then getting back into training in the new year, it'll do Tyson a world of good. Well, Freddie's a legendary trainer. He's a great trainer. But every trainer's got their own philosophy, and he would have liked to have seen a few different things from Tyson to what I was looking for. Freddie's phoned me since then actually, and he's apologised and he said he didn't mean it in the way it come across. But I'm not taking no offence to it. Like I say, every trainer's got their own philosophy, and that's his. He spoke something about me asking Isaac to do the same thing as Tyson. Now, Tyson and Isaac were both boxing punchers, and I like fighters, if you're boxing a puncher, to do a couple of things in the first few rounds to help negate that. And they was both boxing punchers, and I asked them both to do that to help negate that asset that they brought to the table, and they both did that. And that definitely helped towards both of their, wins, so to speak. Potentially, I don't see why not. Like I say, he's got his own philosophy. I've got mine. Like I say, he rang me to apologise. He said he didn't mean it how it come across, and maybe he shouldn't have spoke about it on the interview and on the TV. But we live and learn, and like I said, I've not took no offence to it. Freddie and his assistant Marie were very, very helpful to us out there in LA and in the Wildcard gym. As was Abel Sanchez when we was up in Big Bear. So I'm very thankful to all of them for the help that they brought to us, and that's all I can say on that really. Like I say, every trainer's got their own philosophy. Isaac had a career best performance. A lot of people are saying Tyson had a career best performance, so I don't really understand how you criticise that. But like I say, everybody's got their own opinions.
So there we have it. That was our chat with Ben Davison, trainer of Tyson Fury, the lineal heavyweight champion. What did you make of that, Dave?
Interesting. He speaks very well. Made some good points. It's interesting that they want to see Joshua Wilder. It seems like they would be happy to let them two fight each other before Tyson fights either of them, which I found very interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. I think everybody's kind of half expecting with the WBC sanctioning, obviously the big difference between sanctioning and ordering the rematch between the two, that was kind of a nailed on conclusion.
Yep.
But it doesn't appear that way. It seems like Fury and Davison, certainly from his point of view as a trainer, would expect Tyson to maybe take a fight in the intermediary and go from there really, which I found quite surprising.
Yeah, I think it's surprising, but I think it's probably a smart move. He's then, whoever wins the Joshua Wilder fight, Fury's then involved in the biggest fight in boxing at the moment. It has to be the winner of Fury Wilder Joshua against Tyson Fury is the biggest fight in boxing, be it the rematch or Joshua Fury. So, and in that time, if Tyson can get 2 or 3 fights in that time, in the interim, and I think more time that it has, the better.
I think it's important to also mention that Ben alluded to it in the phone call, that they're not disregarding that. They're going to, as in his own words, they're going to assess the Wilder rematch possibility when he comes back from a well-deserved break. He's been through quite a busy period in the last 18 months. But yeah, I did find that very interesting. The whole Joshua Wilder dynamic, he seems to think that because Fury has come back into the mix so dramatically, that it should spur on the rest of the heavyweights. Do you see it that way? Yeah,
there's a lot of interesting things there. If the Wilder Fury fight is not next, where does that leave the winner of Dillian Whyte Chisora? Like I said, that would be interesting where they go then. Does Tyson box the winner of that fight? Like you said with the BT and the Sky Sports match with Frank Warren, that these fights are difficult to make. So I don't know. I think if we don't see Wilder Fury next, and we do see Joshua Wilder, I think it blows the heavyweight division apart, and I think we'll see some very good fights, but fights that we probably didn't anticipate seeing.
It's kind of what we needed, though. I mean, you alluded to it earlier with the fact that, you know, for a long period of time, the heavyweight division was dormant. I think Wilder Fury is certainly a great step for the heavyweight division. If we then get Joshua Wilder on the back of that undisputed title fight, you've got Fury waiting in the ring, the wings, the lineal champion. Great for the sport.
Yeah, you know, Fury Wilder happening has really put the pressure on Joshua now. People were saying that he was ducking the Wilder fight. Now they're saying that he's begging for the fight. You know, he can't really win. You know, Joshua's in a difficult position at the minute. He needs a big fight in April. You know, I think the winner of White Chisora, especially if it is White, that is a big fight. But the amount of pressure he seems to be under lately with the fans, you know, I see what's going on Twitter, on Facebook, and other social media, and people around me, from my friends, asking me, who's Joshua going to fight? I'm not sure they would even be happy with the Dillian White fight. I think he needs a Wilder or a Fury next if he's going to keep the same level of, you know, the level where he's at now. If he wants to keep that and keep everyone happy and keep selling out these 90,000 seat stadiums, he needs to fight a Wilder or a Fury next, I believe. Also
interesting was to see hear Ben comment on the criticism he received by Freddie Roach, which kind of blew up on Twitter a few days ago. Quite surprised. I was out in LA and Freddie was very complimentary about Ben Davison throughout the whole of fight week. It seemed to be quite a cozy dynamic to the team. I think the whole boxing world was quite surprised with Freddie's comments in the aftermath of the fight. Again, it's kind of interesting to see how mature and measured Ben's reply was on the whole situation.
He was very respectful about it. You know, what Freddie Roach has achieved as a trainer is second to none. He must be one of the most successful coaches that's ever been involved in boxing, especially with success with Manny Pacquiao. So Ben obviously has to take it from that angle. He has to be respectful. But you know, I don't have to be. And when I saw the Freddie Roach interview, it just smacked of a little bit of desperation. Freddie maybe not working with Manny, I don't think, the same way he was years ago, and definitely not having the same success he was years ago. I saw it and I read it as he wants to work with Tyson. He wants to be working with a main man. He thinks he can do a better job, and he thinks he can get his name and his face back in the big time. And you know, I watched it. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. So Ben can't say that, but I can. It turned me off a little bit, off Freddie Roach a little bit.
So you disagreed with his comments. I think the comments that Freddie Roach mentioned was about, you know, Tyson being more attacking. You'd also made reference to Isaac Lowe earlier on in the night. So you disagreed with Freddie's comments.
You know, Tyson. I know Tyson, and Tyson's not. Tyson runs onto Deontay Wilder, but he's a bit more attacking. He probably gets knocked out. You know, he probably gets put down and get back up. You know, you don't run on to Deontay Wilder. I'm not saying I know more than Freddie Roach. I'm not saying Ben knows more than Freddie Roach. I'm not saying between us put together we know as much as Freddie Roach. He's been around the game for years and years and been super successful with it. But you know, Ben knows his man better than anyone. He knows him better than Freddie Roach, certainly. And knowing Tyson like I do, if Ben wasn't the man for the job, he wouldn't be in the job. And that's as categorical and as final as I can make it. You know, Tyson ain't going to suffer fools. And if you thought Freddie was the man for the job, he'd be working with Freddie, he wouldn't be working with Ben. I'd be very surprised if Tyson is back in the US and if Freddie's back in the corner. I'd be very surprised.
Also, end of the conversation, we discussed White Chisora. You've mentioned it there also Ben mentioned it with the fact that it might well be the winner of that who faces either Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua in April. We also contacted and spoke to the president of the WBC, Mauricio Suleiman, recently to get his view on Wilder Fury, namely the controversial decision, potential for, you'll find this interesting, Dave, 5 judges and instant replays in fights, and also how the WBC now sits with Dillian White and Dominic Brazil potentially stepping in to face Deontay Wilder.
It was one of the greatest heavyweight fights in recent years, and without a doubt, one of the greatest fights we have seen in a long time. There was a lot of doubts about Fury's condition, and he proved everybody, and he showed everybody how you can overcome adversity and make it as a motivation and become great in what you do. Fury became a motivation for millions around the world.
showing how you can get up from the floor and be a champion again. I trust the power that the judges have. You have 3 judges that score a fight, sitting in a unique place, concentrating the whole 3 minutes, without any influence or favoritism. I trust the judges. The judges had a different view. One gave it to Wilder, one gave it to Tyson Fury, and one gave it a draw. I trust and I support the final decision of a draw, and it was a fair decision at the end. Of course, Fury fans saw Fury win, and of course, Wilder fans saw Wilder win. So I would not like to take away anything from the fight and fall in controversy of a scoring. I trust each of the 3 judges who scored that fight. They're honorable men. They're highly reputable men, and I'm happy with the final end result of a draw. I'm sorry for Rochin's fire that he's going through, because he's a decent man and a good official. 115, 111 is, of course, a wide score. The fight was closer either way than 115, 111. We're talking about 2 rounds that he has gone too far for Wilder. But as I say, I like to stick to the end result. I like to stick to the draw, which is fair. And I'm sorry for Rochin, who has taken a heavy hit on his personal life from fans and media. But this is boxing. Boxing needs to look into it immediately. We need a reform. There's a 10-point no system which calls for officials to evaluate and rule and give a score after each round. Why 10-10 are not used? Why 10-8 without a knockdown is not used? That's a problem that we have to address. The best scenario is that 4 neutral officials from nationality score a fight. Because how can you have a British fighter coming into America and have 2 or 3 officials from America? Or how can you have an American go to the UK and have 2 UK officials? Or how can you have a Japanese go somewhere else and have 4 officials? It's a difficult topic, because it comes down to every single local jurisdiction appointing the officials. It comes down to local jurisdictions telling the judges not to give 10-10 and not to give 10-8 without a knockdown, and not to use the whole 10 points of the 10-point system. We are going to continue our process. We have open scoring after the 4th and the 8th round. You give the opportunity to the corners to make a decision if they need to adjust their strategy. We're going to continue to push for 4 or 5 judges in championship fights. But it comes down also to financials. Not all fights are so big that they can pay for 5 judges. But we're working on it. Boxing deserves a better treatment from the administrators, and we need to correct and also do our job. We need instant replay in boxing. We need to adjust to the modern times where technology can help our sport to do the fair things for the fans. The WBC voted in favor for the rematch. There's 2 fights happening on December 22nd. One is the mandatory contender, Brazil, and also Dillian Whyte is fighting on the 22nd, who is the silver champion and the number 1 contender. And Fury and Wilder are taking a much-deserved rest. So we're going to take up in January all the administrative work, but the WBC has the rematch agreed and in place. We have, as I mentioned, a ruling from the convention. And then after the convention, we have a ruling on a immediate rematch. As I said, there's these two fights taking place because our convention ruling has to do with the mandatory. So now we have a rematch ordered, and we will deal in January once the two fights have taken place, and we'll do a definite final ruling in which we incorporate what's going to be the situation of the mandatory defense of the champion.
So that was Mauricio Sulaiman, WBC president, giving us his thoughts on all things Wilder, Fury, and moving forward with the WBC. Dave, a few interesting tidbits of information there. Let's start off with the judging. Very non-committal, was protective of Alejandro Rachin, who's obviously the judge who submitted the 115, 111. Just tell me, how obviously we all know as boxing fans, but potentially you could give us a different view on how damaging judging is to the sport, or perceived inept judging is to the sport.
I'm very fortunate in that I've been involved in fights, and I've never been at the hands of a bad scorecard. But these scorecards in with certain fights, there's millions of pounds at stake, and there's some scorecards I've seen recently. The worst one I've seen recently was I think it was Mohammadi against Chudinov in Russia.
World Boxing Super Series.
And I can honestly say, if I would have been Mohammadi that night, I'm not sure I would have ever boxed again. You know, that's what these judges can do to fighters, and whether this is corruption, whether this is just being incompetent, bad at the job, or whether they're just not seeing what everyone else is seeing. It's difficult to fathom sometimes, and sometimes it just stinks of pure corruption. You know, I'm not saying the Rachin card 150 and 111 was corruption. I'm not throwing that at him. I'm just saying I don't see how anyone who knows boxing, who knows what they're looking at, knows the criteria for the scoring, because that's what judging comes down to. Sometimes me and you'll watch a fight and we're not scoring it on the criteria that judges are told to score it on. You know, people need to read up what they're scoring it on. But if the 150 and 111 card is telling me that without the knockdowns, Wilder still doesn't lose that fight, that for me is an impossibility. You know, and it does bring the sport in, not just the judge, not just that area, or that state or whatever. It brings the whole sport into question. And I know numerous people are just being turned out every bad decision. There seems to be one every big show. There's a bad decision. There's a bad card. You know, maybe not a bad decision, but a bad card everywhere. They're turning up all the time. And you know, I for one, in the time I've been involved in boxing, like I say, not for anything personal, but some of the scorecards, it just knocks you sick from it, because you look at these men putting in 10-12 weeks of hard graft, and they're getting robbed, and they're not just getting robbed of a win here, they're getting robbed of the next fight purse being doubled or halved. You know, it's a man's livelihood they're messing with, and like I say, it might not be corruption, it might just be incompetence, but something needs to be done. I'm not sure if it's the 5 judge thing, it's the making them sit not in the arena. I don't know what it is, but something needs doing.
What do you think of the instant replay that was suggested by Mauricio Sulaiman? I mean, boxing is unlike a lot of other sports in the sense of, you know, the ball doesn't go out of play, and so to speak. There's no break like there is in tennis with the Hawkeye. What do you make of that, and how do you think, if you do think instant replay could be useful in boxing?
Not for me. You know, boxing for me is possibly the purest sport out there. It's not changed since I think the late 1800s. You know, that's when it was created and formed, and we're still going by the same rules. And boxing is beautiful when it's done well. And you know, we don't need instant replay. VAR for me it ruined football. The games that it was involved in, it's just like part of the drama. Sometimes is the mistakes, is that. And as boxing fans, yeah, we want to see a 12-round good fight, but sometimes, you know what? The drama is great. You know, drama is great. I don't like to see a bad scorecard that's affecting people's livelihoods, but a bit of drama is good. And I don't want to see fights being paused halfway through a round because of something or because of this, that, and the other. All I want is 3 judges that are going to sit there, know what they're watching, and then score fairly and effectively. That's all we're asking for, really. You know, all you need is 1 good referee and 3 good judges. That's it.
I mean, it's probably a bad example. I assume that they probably, this is obviously, we don't know because it's not been implemented, but I'd assume that potentially there could be room for maybe instant replays available in between rounds. Would that be something that you think could be good? Like a judge has access to a screen, no commentary, and they get to see certain shots or certain segments from a different angle?
No, 'cause I like boxing as pure as it is. There's no reason why you can't get 3 men to sit around the ring and score it effectively and most importantly, fairly. It's not the hardest job in the world, you know. Some rounds can be close. You get it either way. I watch fights sometimes and you can score it 116-12 one way, 116-12 the other, and you can all join and say that's fair enough. And then some fights, like the Canelo Golovkin, the first fight, that's the worst card I've ever seen. The Muhammad Chudinov fight, it goes past the line of incompetence for me, and that is easily that should be easily kept away from boxing. That's not something that an instant replay can change or anything being brought in. It's just a case of, you know, let's bring some good, strong, fair, you know, officials in.
Just finally with Mauricio Sulaiman, he was quite non-committal when we discussed the possibility of Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. I mean, he was of the impression that is kind of their top of their priority as a governing body to make that rematch, but also did allude to the fact that Dillian Whyte is boxing Derek Chisora. He's got the silver title. He's held a very high ranking in the WBC for a long time. Dominic Brazil is mandatory for the title. So given what Mauricio has said and kind of reading between the lines of that and also what Ben Davison says, it kind of looks to me like Dillian Whyte or Dominic Brazil, all being well and they come through their fights, they're both fighting on December the 22nd, that could be the next fight for Deontay Wilder next year.
Yeah, you know, I think we're going to see Wilder Brazil next year. I think, you know, looking at everything, reading between the lines and not even having to read between the lines, it just seems to me, with everything we've heard, even in the last half an hour, we're not going to see Wilder Fury 2, at least not next. It's a shame for Dillian Whyte because I think Dillian Whyte has earned a world title shot. Since the Joshua defeat, he's built himself up. He's gone through domestic level. He's gone to European level, high end of European level. Beat a former undefeated world champion Lucas Brown. Beat Joseph Parker. If he beats Chisora for me in this day and age, in 2018 going on 2019, he's earned a world title fight. I think it's a shame that if he doesn't get one. But Brazil for me is a good fight for Wilder. I'm not unhappy with that either. So, you know, the heavyweight division is in a really good place. You know, you got these fighters all lined up for world title shots, and all of them you got to say, yeah, they can all be good fights.
They mentioned Dillian Whyte actually leads us in nicely to where we're going next. You've been sparring with Dillian Whyte as he prepares for his bout with Derek Chisora, which is going to be live at the O2 this Saturday, December the 22nd. First and foremost, how's Dillian looked in sparring?
No, very good. Dillian Whyte is exceptionally fit and exceptionally tough. And them two traits alone, them two alone in the heavyweight division will take you very far. Because I've boxed men that are better than me, technically better than me, faster than me, more powerful than me. I boxed Nick Webb, and I wasn't fit. And he may have been bigger than me and stronger than me, and maybe even more powerful than me, a little bit faster. But he can't do the rounds. He does 2 or 3 rounds and he's gone. Dillian Whyte can do 12 rounds. He's also essentially tough. You know, like Joshua proved, you've got to knock him out to get rid of him. So if you can do 12 rounds at a good pace and you're very tough, you're gonna be a top 15, top 20 heavyweight because most big men are soft. You know, I'm not soft. I'm just slow. But so Dillian Whyte, same with Derek Chisora. They're both the same. They're very similar. They're both very tough, very strong men, very fit. But Dillian Whyte for me has improved dramatically since the Joshua fight, and most importantly, in this fight, he's improved the most since the first matchup.
Now you mentioned the first matchup, and this is an interesting story that we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
You boxed on the undercard of the first fight against Luis Ortiz. Unsuccessful, unfortunately for you. You didn't watch the first White Chisora fight.
No.
Why not? Tell me about the story.
Well, I boxed Luis Ortiz at about 10-7, rather than about 7:30 because I took him 7 rounds.
I've never heard that before.
I don't like talking about it.
No.
I then went to the hospital. People always say that I talk weirdly since that night. My tongue is a lot bigger than it used to be now. So yeah, I ended up in hospital. They said I had a 6-hour waiting. There was a 6-hour wait. I said I'm alright, my tongue's not that important, don't worry about it. I wish I would have stayed now. Went back to the arena. We'll go back to the arena just in time for Derek's ring walk to Hotel California, which stayed with me till today. That ring walk was fantastic. I then proceeded to go to the very back row of the whole arena, which is where I was sat for the fight. I couldn't see a thing anyway. I then sat on my phone for the duration of the fight and didn't watch it. So I can't tell you about the first fight. I can tell you that it sounded like it was a great fight. It sounded exceptional. I did lift my head a few times, but I was feeling sorry for myself. I just can't see how Derek can beat Dillian based on the fact that the first fight was very close. In terms of improvement, Dillian is a 100 times the fighter he was the first time.
Now they're both coming off career best wins. Dillian Whyte against Joseph Parker. Derek Chisora was in that tear up with Carlos Takam, both on the same night, incidentally. With that being said, do you feel that form's going to be important going into this fight? I mean, they're both kind of riding the crest of a wave. Do you think that's going to have any implication on the fight?
I think it'll be a good fight. I think Derek Chisora will make it a good fight. Derek Chisora will come to fight. I think Dillian Whyte will come to box. And like Ben said earlier, there's boxing and there's boxing. There's coming to box and there's making. And Dillian Whyte for me has not got to get in a fight at all costs. Do not get in a fight with this man. Keep on the job for as long as possible. If that's 1 round, if it's 2, if it's 6, that's great. If it's any more than 6, that's brilliant. That's half the job done. It's going to be a hard night for Dillian Whyte. Whatever happens, if you fight Derek Chisora and Derek Chisora is on his A game, you're in for a hell of a tough night. People forget the Hay fight. Just before the knockout, Chisora was closing the distance down and he was getting close with the right hand all the time. Chisora is a difficult night for anybody. I don't think it will be an easy night for Dillian Whyte by any means. I just think his extra little bit of boxing now, some technical ability, will see him over the line, and I think his freshness, his youth, may seem to a late stoppage win. I don't think Derek's getting any younger, and I think the Takam fight, I don't think it was as impressive a victory as it may seem on paper. I think while I'm a massive Chisora fan, I think he's been great for British boxing. I don't think the win for me was great. I think Takam was 6-7 rounds up and punched himself out, and Chisora being the tough man that he was, soaked it all up and took him out fair enough. But I don't think he was even in the fight up until that point.
A lot of criticism about this fight being pay-per-view. You're somebody with some experience of boxing on pay-per-view. Didn't you tell me recently you're the most appearances on pay-per-view in the world in how long?
In the last 2 years, I believe.
That's incredible. And we've got you right here in the boxing studio office.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? You're welcome.
But where I was going with that was kind of the kind of pay-per-view in boxing. It's kind of like a conflicting thing. I mean, you've got DAZN and ESPN Plus, so it's kind of like going a streaming way, but there's still this pay-per-view market where it seems like even more fights are going pay-per-view. What do you make of the criticism about this fight being pay-per-view? The first fight was on an undercard.
It depends how you look at it. If you're paying £9.95 to watch Callum Smith, Nicky Holtzen, the kickboxer, then I'm going to pay £19.95 for this. If I can then... I've watched numerous world title fights in the past for free, and then you think, oh right, I'm going to pay £20 for this, but that's where boxing is in 2018. Any good fight goes on pay-per-view now. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's just the boxing market in the UK now. Will I pay for it if I'm not there? Yeah. Will lots of others? Yeah. If you're a boxing fan, you'll get worn down, even if you don't want to at first. It comes to about 5 to 6 and you think, I'm going to buy it, and you do because you're a boxing fan, and deep down really it is going to be a good fight. It's difficult because Warrington Frampton on the same night, pay-per-view, 2 pay-per-view shows on the same night. as a boxing fan, it's a hard one because you want to watch both shows. Ideally, you want to watch them not for free because you've got to pay your BT and your Sky Sports subscription anyway. So it's difficult. People will say, well, you're a bit of an hypocrite because you box on them all. Yeah, I do box on them all, but I'm not the one who makes them pay-per-view, you know? Is it pay-per-view? It is pay-per-view because it needs to be pay-per-view for the fight to happen for the money that both men want. So for that reason alone, it is pay-per-view, yeah.
Andy Purewell, so Andy Purewell from Boxing Social, shout out Andy Purewell. He did an interview with Eddie Hearn recently at the White Chisora 2 press conference where he asked Eddie Hearn about the possibility, because there was the rumours about Dillian Whyte fighting Luis Ortiz at the time. Now, Eddie was very, very honest in that interview when he said Luis Ortiz versus Dillian Whyte, quote unquote, might be the better fight.
Yeah.
But if you ask somebody down the street who Luis Ortiz is, they won't know, whereas they'll be able to tell you about Derek Chisora. First of all, what do you think is a more difficult fight for Dillian Whyte, Ortiz or Chisora?
I watched Ortiz fight Kaufman the other night and I thought he looked poor, to be honest. He looks old. He is old. He was old when I boxed him 2 years ago. So he's really old now. Really, really old. I think Chisora's a harder fight. Purely based on a style kind of thing, because Ortiz at this stage is slow, and I think he's there for the beating against anybody. There's something about him. You know, you're still got to be a very good fighter to beat him, but if you're a good fighter, you'll beat him now. The man could possibly be nearing 50 years old, you know, and I do like to joke about it sometimes, but that's the facts of it. He's very possibly nearing 50. Chisora will give anyone a hard night's work. That's the thing with him. You know what you're going to get with him, but stopping it is a different matter altogether. Chisora on an on night is difficult for anybody. You said earlier Chisora, the last Chisora Whyte fight was on the undercard. The last Chisora Whyte fight sold the Joshua Molina card for me. You know, it was the nominal main event for me, and I think for lots of others. I think lots tuning in and lots there that night was there for that fight rather than the Joshua Molina fight. So I'm glad we are seeing Chisora Whyte. That's my preference. I think it's a much better fight to watch, much better build up. Although I'm not too interested in that really, you know. But yeah, I think Eddie's right in what he says, because Eddie at the minute is the one promoter in the world. So what he says, you kind of got to agree with, in the aspect of when he says something to do with what sells and what doesn't sell, he knows.
Would you be happy? I mean, we've spoken about this at kind of at great length already with Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, but would you be happy with the winner of this fight, White Chisora 2, fighting Anthony Joshua in April? If for whatever reason, and there seems to have been plenty over the last year, Joshua Wilder doesn't happen.
I think with the Dillian Whyte rematch for Joshua's always been there. It was always a case since the first fight, 2015. It was a case if Dillian Whyte goes away, rebuilds, gets a few wins, the fight was always going to be there. It still is there. If he beats Chisora, I anticipate it happening in April. Dillian beats Chisora. All the talk of we want Wilder, we want this, we want that. I think the Whyte fight is next. I think it sells. Joshua's a massive favourite in it. Of course, there's a risk, but Joshua's a big favourite. The fight will sell. Does Chisora Joshua sell? I'm not sure it does, but Chisora beats Whyte on the back of Takam previously, beating him in better fashion than Joshua did, and Chisora's earned his shot. You know, I think the winner of Whyte Chisora is fighting Joshua next. That's what I think. Could be wrong, but I think the winner of that fight will get Joshua in April.
Do you think on the back of kind of the whole Wilder Fury stuff, and then obviously the prolonged and protracted negotiations between Eddie Hearn and Shelley Finkel, Team Joshua, Team Wilder, do you think that given all of that and that kind of culminating with Wilder against Fury, the winner of White Chisora 2, whoever that is, becomes a much more difficult sell for April?
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult sell either way. I think Whyte does sell because of the past, and you know people will tune in to watch it. You know, Eddie and Sky are great. You know, they're great at selling things. You know, and Sky pay-per-views always sell. You know, because they're sold so well. The white pay-per-view will sell anyway. The Chisora one I don't think would. It'd sell a certain amount because they do a fantastic job of doing it. But Joshua, for me, like we said earlier, he needs Wilder Fury and he needs them ASAP. For me, he's not losing out any credibility on me. I think he'd love to fight these men. But I think he needs, for the wider public, to keep the kind of interest that he's gained so far, he needs to fight Fury or Wilder. But I don't envisage it either happening in April.
Let's take a look at the undercard for Whyte Chisora 2. You've got Charlie Edwards challenging for the WBC World Flyweight title against Christopher Rosales. Rosales, somebody that me and you have seen box when he boxed Paddy Barnes at Windsor Park. What do you make of that fight?
I think it's a good fight. I think it's a very difficult fight for Charlie. I think Rosales, when I watched the Barnes fight, I thought this is a serious fighter. He's going to take some beating. And then I was talking to my friend and he said, "This is the Rosales that Andrew Selby beat." And I thought, no. So I'm not sure if Paddy Barnes is not quite transitioned from the amateurs to professionals. He doesn't seem to be as good professional as he was an amateur. He was a highly decorated amateur, turned over very late. So maybe Rosales is flattered by that a little bit. But obviously Rosales had other impressive results as well. The Japanese fella.
Yeah,
so I think it's going to be an hard night's work for Charlie Edwards. I think Charlie Edwards is unbelievably talented. I watched him fight Nelson in Newcastle. Brilliant. But, he fought substandard opposition if you're going to go and fight for a world title before his fight against Casemiro. Since Casemiro's done the same again. I think the leap from domestic level to world level is massive at any weight, but at these smaller weights it's even bigger again. The Japanese, the Filipinos, the Mexicans, the small men in these countries, unbelievably tough, unbelievably powerful and hard, and I think it's going to be an hard night for Charlie, to be honest.
Now, Charlie, as you mentioned, is somebody who boxed for a world title against John Real Casemiro. By his own admission, that was very, very early in his career to be fighting somebody who was a seasoned campaigner. Casemiro's a puncher as well. You've mentioned it there, really. You've kind of stepped on what I was going to say in the sense of he's kind of come back, and I know he's changed trainers again. He's now boxing out at the Sheffield Steel gym. Let's talk about that actually first and foremost. You're somebody who spent some time with Adam Booth. Charlie Edwards was somebody else who was with Adam for a period of time. What do you make of him moving up to Sheffield and kind of moving away from Adam Booth in preparation for this fight?
Well, Grant Smith is the name of the man who the head coach at the gym. His son Dalton's doing exceptionally well. Grant's a very good coach. Like I said the same with Adam. I think Adam's an exceptional coach. I think he's brilliant. But the coach doesn't make the fighter. The coach has to be good. He has to do numerous things. He has to train them. He has to train the body, the mind, everything. But there's nothing I don't think like Grant Smith can't do, that Adam Booth can't do, with the right fighter. If Charlie Edwards loses to Rosales, it isn't a case of because he's training with Grant Smith. It's a case because he just isn't good enough, That's my biggest bugbear at the minute in boxing, that these magical trainers can win fights. They can't. Good trainer helps, but isn't it be all and end all? If you can't fight, it doesn't matter. I can't. It's like me taking you, Rob, to Adam Boo or Freddie Roach, saying, "Look, here's Rob. You'll be world champion in 3 months. Now we're training with Freddie Roach." Not as easy as that. We'd all just go and join the greatest trainer. We'd all be world champions, won't we? So, I think Grant's a good coach. What he's done with his son and other fighters at that gym's flying at the minute. I'm pretty local to it. It's flying. Good luck to Charlie. I hope he wins it. I do hope he wins. I think he'll have a lot of early success using his speed. He's very fast. He's technically very sound. There's nothing really he hasn't got. I just think he may lack the strength and the power back up at world level. I think Rosales has improved massively since he became champion.
Let's just talk about that. I mean, it's kind of interesting comparing the two, and this is where I was going with Charlie's kind of level of opponents before he boxed Casemiro and now before he's boxed Rosales. But Rosales, while he did get that win over Higa was also, by all accounts, dead at the weight. I think he suffered an injury in preparation for that fight. Paddy Barnes, as you've just mentioned, kind of hasn't really made the transition as well as, expected. But having said that, he did box at 3 Olympic Games, so he's kind of in that mould, as it were.
Yeah.
Andrew Selby beat him, also got dropped in the first round. So it's kind of, there's a lot of unanswered questions, I think, about both guys come fight night.
You know, Selby for me is probably the most talented fighter we've got in the UK.
I agree. The first time I see him box, I think I saw him box it, and it wasn't one of his best performances. He boxed Max Flores at York Hall not that long ago. I think about 18 months ago. He's fantastic. I think he's probably one of the most naturally talented fighters that I've ever seen. And now sort of going through that, the fact that Rosales, although he lost a pretty wide decision, the fact that he had Andrew Selby on the floor is kind of a good form guide.
Yeah, I think if Charlie Edwards turns up and comprehensively outboxes Rosales for 8 or 9 rounds and stumbles over the line after a dodgy last few rounds, that wouldn't surprise me. Rosales being too big and strong and getting Edwards out of there early on wouldn't massively surprise me. It's an interesting fight. Like we said, the criteria for a good fight for me now is one where I'm not sure what the end result will be, and I think this is another one that is like that. You know, I think Rosales will win, but it's not one that I'm entirely confident on. I'm a fan of watching Charlie Edwards. I think he's a really good boxer. Really good. I enjoy watching him. He does everything correctly. He does everything crisply. He's a good fighter. I'm just not sure he can compete with the strength and the tenacity and the punching power of Rosales.
Another fight that's on the undercard, I'm sure you'll have a keen eye on. I mean, you're a keen observer of all boxing, but David Price versus Tom Little, both guys that you've been linked with. Dillian Whyte told me when this fight was announced, or when his fight with Chirula was announced, that he wanted you on the undercard against Tom Little. That didn't happen. What do you make of David Price versus Tom Little?
I think it'll be fun. For me, David Price is an enigma. He's probably one of the most talented heavyweights on the planet. He's Olympic bronze medalist. In sparring, I'm told, is exceptional. Like, you can't do much with him. He knocks out Joshua in sparring. Everyone I know who has sparred with him has said he's the best to spar with. He's so powerful. He's got a crisp jab. It's just under the lights. He seems to go to bits. But one thing I can say is he's never gone to bits against anybody that can't fight. Tepper, Hammer, Thompson, yeah, they can all really fight. They're all above British title level. Anyone at British title level or below, Price is dispatched of in really good fashion. I see the bookies have got 3-1 on. I would have him a lot longer on than that. I think Tom Little's a very game man. He thinks he'd beat me very easily, that's his opinion. But I don't know. I think David Price should be like 25-1 on maybe. I don't think it's like competitive really. Tom Little may surprise me and win. Like you say, I think David Price should be a massive favourite because every time he's been back down at this level, he looks devastating. Tom Little's tough and game. If he can get Price through 3 or 4 rounds, maybe he can start to have some success and worry Price out of it. But I just don't see it. And I may face the winner down the line, whichever that may be. Be a good fight. But I think Price. I genuinely think Price has still got something left in the locker, and he's a fighter that I would welcome, but I'll be very wary of taking, as I think he's still a very dangerous man at the level that I'm operating at, that Little's operating at, that all those domestic heavyweights operating at is very dangerous to all of us, I think.
I was just going to ask you if you'd be interested in the winner, but you've kind of covered that in that.
Yeah, I'm interested in all fights at heavyweight, especially the big domestic ones. It's not one that I'm massively that bothered about, as I'm not a stupid man. The Price fight is as dangerous as the Brown fight, but with all the risk and no reward. I'd be expected to beat Price easily, by most, and I think it'd be a very hard night. Whereas the Brown fight, I'd be an outsider, and I'd be very confident in winning. We're confident in winning the Price fight, but without all the massive expectation of doing it. So I think I probably will end up boxing the winner though, 'cause I think that's where it's headed. You know, probably me and Price or me and Little will probably be on a pay-per-view coming to you in 2019. I'm sure. Yeah. So good luck to them both is what I will say. As the winner will line himself up for a big fight in 2019. Yeah.
Ryan Walsh against Reece Bellotti, British featherweight title. Decent fight. What do you make of that?
I think it's a good fight. I think Walsh is a good fighter. I think Bellotti's a good fighter. I think Walsh maybe just be a little bit too good and experienced for Bellotti. Bellotti getting beaten by Doyle raises question marks on how far he can go, I think. And I think Walsh, to beat Walsh, you've got to be a really good fighter. And I'm not sure Bellotti is good enough to beat Ryan Walsh. I think Ryan Walsh is a really solid fighter, especially at British title level. You have to be a bit special to beat him. And I think the Walsh Gill fight early next year will be a cracker, if that does happen.
Just final one on the White Chisora 2 cards. Joshua Buatsi returns to action. He's boxing Reynold Quinlan, who will be appearing later on the show. What do you make of that fight?
But Buatsi for me is the best prospect we've got. I think he's exceptional. He's not the biggest puncher. He's not the biggest at the weight. He's not the strongest. I don't think he's the fastest. He just seems to do everything well. He just does everything. He does everything like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Everything across the board. Some people, are 10s at some and 3s and 2s and 3s at others. Buatsi just is seemingly a 7 or an 8 across the board. And for me, when you're a 7 and 8 across the board with a few 9s here and there, you're going to get to the top of the game, I'd rather have a man that's 8 across the board than a few 10s and a few 2s and 3s, and I think Buatsi is the real deal. I think he'll beat Quinlan. I think it's good matching at this stage. I think it's a fight he will win. He will look good in, but he will get rounds in, and it's against a name that we know due to the Quinlan fight with Eubank Jr.
You mentioned that you think Josh Buatsi is kind of the best prospect that we've got. Is that across all weight classes or just light?
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, that's from what I've seen with my own eyes. I watched him. Obviously, I spent a lot of time up at the GB sparring. Seen him up there for years. Watched him as a pro. And stuff I've heard from people he spars. I know he spars Lawrence Coley. I know Lawrence Coley's getting some real sticking, but he doesn't even blink, I'm told. I've been told some real stories about Buatsi by people that I would take as facts, and they tell me he's the real deal.
What fight would you like to see Josh Buatsi in next year? A heavily mooted fight is him with Anthony Yard, who we'll also be seeing later on in the studio. Is that a fight that interests you? Be a great fight to make, I think, for British boxing, but obviously you've got the promotional politics on either side.
It won't happen. Anthony Yard's got to box somebody. He won't box Buatsi. Anthony Yard, for me, really, I don't know how good he is. I know he's good. You know he's talented. We know he's talented. Can he fight? We don't know. He's not. I know the Saloka fight is a good result, but I just want to see him fight a light heavyweight for one. A light heavyweight that's nearing the top of his ability. One that's decent, He frustrates me as a boxing fan because there's nothing worse than not knowing how good someone is after 17, 18 fights. He got to 9 and 10 and 0, and you're thinking, alright, he's going to step up now, and he hasn't. He beat Chris Hobbs for the Southern Air, and you thought, alright, that's a springboard onto the British title stage. You can fight at Buglioni, at Burton, and he hasn't. He's won the WBO European, and he's sitting on a world #1 ranking, fighting substandard opponents that wouldn't even be in the British title mix, and that's very frustrating for me. I'd love to see the Burton fight. It's not going to happen. I'd love to see the Buatsi fight. Not going to happen. It's frustrating because you can see how much talent he's got, and when we're going to see him fight anybody, when is that going to happen? I don't know.
You're somebody who didn't have an extensive amateur background. You had 10 amateur fights.
I had 2 less fights than him.
Yeah. So how big you kind of? I would and I say this with the greatest love and respect to you, as you know. I would never recommend somebody goes about their heavyweight career or any career the way you did with yours, with boxing Luis Ortiz and Dillian White and etc. etc. So I kind of feel like if you're saying, or not you, but if we're kind of looking at Yard, who is somebody who's maybe getting his experience in now as a pro, you kind of went the other way and you jumped right in at the deep end. So do you kind of see where he's coming from with the fact that he's had 12 amateur fights?
No, not really. They're guiding him how they want to guide him. Obviously, he looks like he's going to become the face of BT boxing. Whether he already may be, I don't know. He's one of them. But I don't care about him being the face of BT. I don't care about him all this nonsense sponsored by Max Muscle. I'm a boxing fan. I just want to watch. I want to see him fight on how good he is. I don't want him to fight Beterbiev. I don't want to see him fight Bivol. I want to see him fight Jose Burton. You know what I mean? I'm not asking him to fight these Russian undefeated world champions. I just want to see him fight a really good domestic fighter. That's how good he is. You know? He frustrates the life out of me. And people on Twitter always say, well, you don't like him. It's not like I don't like him. I don't know him. He just frustrates me. As a fellow fighter, he frustrates me. We'd all be happy to see him fight Jose Burton at this point. And I think Jose Burton's a really good fighter, but we're not asking the world of him. And I think a lot of people feel the same as me. We're just turned off by him. I've not even seen his last 2 fights. Not even watched them. Because I'm not interested in him anymore.
Interesting point. Will be extra interesting when we have Anthony Yard in the studio coming up later. However, next we've got Joshua Buatsi's opponent from this Saturday's White Chisora 2 show at the O2. We've got Reynold Quinlan, former IBO World Super Middleweight Champion, in the studio next. So now we're joined in the studio by former IBO World Super Middleweight Champion Reynold Quinlan ahead of his bout with Joshua Buatsi on the White Chisora undercard. Reynold, nice to see you. Thanks very much for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Obviously, you're somebody who's quite known to British boxing fans from your fight with Chris Eubank Jr.
Yep.
But what I'd like to do today is sort of have a little bit of a chat of your kind of origin and your story. Most boxers have a very interesting story. I'm sure you're no different. Just tell us a little bit about how you got into boxing.
Yeah, I got into boxing. Well, growing up in school, remember primary school, there's one lad used to always pick on me. My younger cousin, his name Carl, he always used to stand up for me, so he's younger than me. But I just never used to like fighting. And one afternoon I come back home and I got my grandfather. I said, can you teach me how to fight? Because he used to teach my old man. And I remember he took me down the back of our house and there's a banana tree. And he started me on the banana tree. So I started in the banana tree and I liked it because every time he hit it, the water splashes off it. So that was the first memory. And then he ended up taking me to the PCYC after that. And I got into the boxing then.
So that's quite an interesting story, even by boxing standards. I mean, I've not seen a banana tree myself, much less punched one. What was it like growing up? So you're Australian, but you're of Fijian descent, is that right?
Back home in Australia, indigenous. My dad's Aboriginal, and mum is Fijian. So yeah, I grew up with my dad's side of the family, my Aboriginal side, in a little place called Port Macquarie. My upbringing was pretty good. My grandmother raised me. It was good.
So that's quite. I mean, obviously, I knew you were Indigenous. What was that like? What kind of? Because obviously, I don't come into contact with that many Indigenous people. Just tell me a little bit about kind of the culture and how that was growing up and how that's different to maybe how I was brought up.
Yeah. Well, our culture within the Aboriginal and Fijian culture, they're very family oriented. So we live together like as in big families. So with my grandmother raised all her grandchildren. So and all of her kids, so we were a very big family, and they loved to stay amongst each other, all together. So
was it just you who boxed, or was there other members of your family who kind of joined you?
It was just me. All my cousins was good rugby league players. They all love rugby league, and I was the only one that didn't. I wasn't good at rugby league. Played a bit of union but boxing ended up becoming something I was good at.
How did you kind of make the trip from the banana tree, as it were, to the gym? Do you remember the first time you went to the gym?
First time I went to the gym was my grandfather took me down to the PCYC. And I remember I went up there and I was watching all the lads train. And I remember my first trainer, his name was Dean and Eric. And Dino, Dean and Paul, sorry. Dino, when I was little, 'cause I always used to be a cheeky kid as well. And I always just run amok in the gym, in the PCYC, the Police Community Youth Club. But yeah, when I went there for the first time, I just fell in love with it.
People often talk about that kind of that bug of the boxing bug. You go to the gym with them, you get fighters. I mean, some people obviously don't get it, but fighters often talk about kind of being gripped by it and never really wanting to do anything else. Was that like that for you from that young age? Did you always see yourself becoming a boxer?
Yeah, I always dreamed of or becoming a world champ. My biggest dream was to hold the WBC. And I used to watch some of the fighters, and yeah, it was, when I first got there, I used to love it, especially the boxing shoes, the gloves, and I used to just watch all the other people train. And then I remember I used to ask them, can I fight? And I said, you need to wait till you turn 14. So I ended up having my first amateur fight when I was 14, and I loved it ever since then.
What fighters, I mean, you mentioned watching other fighters. What fighters do you remember kind of watching growing up?
I remember I used to watch Tyson. I used to love Tyson. But back home, I think one of my biggest influence boxers that I looked up to, and that we're actually very close together, is Anthony Mundine.
Mm-hmm.
He's someone that I looked up to a lot, with him playing his rugby league, and just being from same cultural background. He's I looked up to him heaps, and then actually going to get to meet him when I first went to Sydney, and actually sparring against him was like a dream come true. And I was thinking, yeah, this is for me. But then I went off the rails, and so I wanted to play football because I seen all my other cousins playing football, so I was like in two minds. Yeah.
What was it that brought you back? You say you're in two minds, you went off the rails a little bit. What was it that kind of brought you back to the boxing gym?
What brought me back is all my cousins and family, friends, they kept saying to me, Ren, yeah, go back to boxing. God's giving you a gift. But I never took it serious. Even till like this day, sometimes I don't take it as serious as I should. And just the family members just said that's what you're meant to do. Just go and fight. You're good. You're better than playing footy. You're better at boxing, sports wise. So yeah.
What was it like? I mean, I know Joseph Parker is from New Zealand, but he spoke to me about kind of being in that like Oceania and kind of the not lack of support, but obviously you have rugby union, rugby league, cricket, other sports that probably take up a lot more funding and that are a lot easier accessible. Did you ever feel that way when you were boxing? Was it kind of a sense of not wanting to say that it was kind of futile, but did you ever think that the lack of funding may kind of hinder you going forward?
No, it didn't actually. It didn't. I didn't look. I didn't take it. I didn't look at that as much as I should have. Because there's actually a lot of help with Indigenous back home. There's a lot of funding that'll help with. They help with whatever. Like if it's gear or if you need to go away. So there's a lot of help for us there. A lot of us don't seem to go and get the help that we need. Yeah, it's different from where Parker, where you grew up, and we find that back home in Australia, when I actually went to travel and I went back to Mum's land, Fiji, I actually seen the way they live and how we have it in Australia easy, and I appreciated life more, especially with my kids. I told them, I said I wanted them to appreciate what we have, because a lot of the times we don't appreciate it, and there's other people around the country, around the world that's worse than what we have, and we got it real easy back home.
Do you go to Fiji often?
No, last time a few years ago I went back. I went back to just see Mum's side of the family, and I think going back there really made me open my eyes.
What do they think of your boxing?
They look up to me. I just say I'm just normal. I'm normal like he is. I'm no different.
It must be a nice feeling though.
Yeah.
To have your family kind of, because it is a very different thing, a very niche thing, even over here. Must be a nice feeling to kind of have that adulation from your family.
Yeah, it is, and especially on both sides. It's when I look at it, like I look at the both differences with my Aboriginal side and with my Fijian side, but they're both grateful and happy and supportive in all the choices I make.
Tell me about your kind of career progression as a professional, namely the Daniel Gill fight, which at the time was considered to be a huge shock when you stopped Daniel Gill, who was a former 2-time world champion. Tell me about that fight and kind of the lead into that fight. Was that what you looked at as kind of your big chance?
Leading into the fight, I was still like yesterday, looking back on it, and because my grandmother actually, I moved back home from Sydney to look after my grandmother. She was sick, and my grandmother raised me ever since I was 18 months old, and so me and my wife and my daughters, we moved back home and to look after her, and I wasn't too much into my boxing at the time. I'd train and was just there to look after her, and there's all these talks saying, oh, Ren, Daniel Gill's gonna, would you fight Daniel Gill? There's all this talk, and I said, no, I haven't heard nothing. And then one of the promoters called me up and asked me, and I said, oh, if they did offer me the fight, I said I'd grab it both hands. I said there's my opportunity there to show everyone. Leading into the fight, when they called me up and offered me the fight, I agreed straight away to the fight. There was other super middleweights in Australia that got offered the fight, and they didn't take it, and I was the only person that took it straight away. Never asked for much, and I knew that once I beat him, the doors were open. And but leading into the fight, I was blessed because moving back home with my grandmother brought me back to loving what I was doing, and back to God, because we're real religious, she is. And training was good leading up into the fight. Unfortunately, they called the fight they heard that Daniel Gill's mum was getting sick, and so they postponed the fight, and my grandmother ended up getting sick and dying. She had passed as well. So that motivated me more to go into the fight, and what happened is that I stopped him on the night that we met.
What was that like for you? I mean, you just alluded to it there, where it kind of inspired you, but that must have been difficult for somebody who's raised you since you were 18 months, somebody so close and pivotal in your life, to pass away before arguably the biggest, certainly the biggest fight of your life, but one of the biggest days of your life. What was that like?
It was really, when it actually happened, I was going away to spar, and I took my phone off flight mode and I got the call, and I was only just talking to her that night in hospital, and she said I should be out on that Monday, and she sounded good, she sounded like good, and then she passed. It was really, I didn't know if it was real or not at first. I was crying actually driving back up from Sydney, 5-hour drive all the way to get there to the hospital, and actually to walk in to the hospital and see her, I found a lot of peace within myself, because actually to see my grandmother, she looked better when she was asleep than when she was alive, because she was on dialysis, and deep down it was actually eating me away inside, but I tried not to show it, and I just kept training after that, and she would always come to me and like say to me, son, keep doing what you're doing, never give up on your dream. She'd always tell me right from wrong, always pray for me. So, but I knew that she was in a better place.
How did it feel coming through all of that and then getting the win over Daniel Gill? That must have been I can't even begin to imagine the release and kind of all of the pent up emotions that you must have been going through, and getting that win must have been an indescribable feeling.
It was a win. I wish that she was there when I look back, and but I knew that if she was there, she'd be emotional, because before I fought for the IBO world title, I fought for the international. I won the IBO international title, and I'll come straight back home and I showed her the belt. We took a picture, and I was thinking, I wish Nan was alive so we can take a picture with the world title. Something that I dreamed of, to win a world title. But yeah, that's life. You just have to keep memories, and just looking for that day that we meet again.
How did your life change after that win over Daniel Gill? Daniel Gill was one of the highest profile Australian boxers of the last, certainly, decade. Your life must have changed after beating him.
Yeah, it changed a lot. especially into boxing. And then to get the offer for Eubank, I remember they asked me about 2 weeks after I beat Gill. They asked me, "Oh, have you seen Eubank, the person who was managing me at the time?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I seen him fight." And they said, "Oh, well, would you take the fight? Would you defend it for your title?" I said, "Yeah, for sure, 100%." And then there's a lot of conflicts that happen within that short amount of time. My wife was giving birth to my son, and I had to leave to come over 2 days after my son was born. And but I love the challenges, and it was something I learned from when I come over the first time. I thought it was a big change in my life, but there was things that I learned from, that I made a mistake with the team that I had back then, things I wasn't doing as an elite athlete, and to jump in the ring at that time with Eubank, and to know that I wasn't at the elite standard to go the distance I went. They were surprised as well. So there's a lot of change. I know there's a lot of change within myself, and there's a lot more that can be done.
I mean, having said that, I didn't know about that kind of build-up. I watched the fight with Chris Eubank Jr. First and foremost, I have a young daughter myself, so kind of having to leave a newborn after just a couple of days must have been very, very difficult, I think, to say the least. And to kind of still go 10 rounds, was it that you went with, Chris?
10.
Given all of that stuff on the back of it, do you feel like you kind of learnt from that whole experience, and that's kind of lessons that you've taken forward?
Yeah, I have. I've learnt a lot actually from that fight, and especially just within the mental side of it. Being, you can be physically switched on, physically fit, but mentally plays a big part. And I was just, my son, my two daughters as well, that had to leave them, and I was it was a short notice, but it was I learned from it. I look back on it, and it was a big lesson learnt, but that's part of life. If you don't learn from the mistakes you make.
How old are your two daughters, if you don't mind me asking?
I got three all up. There's two's 5, just turned 5, and the other's 7. My little son's 1, he turns 2 next month. So
what's it like for them? I'd assume that kind of, well, maybe 5, yeah, and 7, they're probably starting to understand what you do for a living. Yeah. What's that like for them?
Well, it's every time I'm gone, my daughters are like, "Daddy, how long are you going for? Can make sure you come back." And especially with boxing, or even if I go training, "You come back, Dad?" I said, "Yeah." My eldest daughter, Soraya, she's always saying, "Dad, make sure you win. You need to win this time all the time." And it's real touching. But I tell them, so, "Yeah, I'll be back soon. We'll get the win."
Talk to me about this fight. You're boxing Josh Buatsi, Olympic bronze medalist, somebody who's got a very, very good reputation. I think is sort of underselling it. He's one of the highest rated prospects, certainly in this country. Tell me about kind of the process of you being offered that fight.
It was a short notice. I didn't know much of Buatsi. One of the guys from Matchroom emailed me after, asked me would I come back and fight. I jumped on straight away. I didn't care who it is. And they said Joshua. I didn't know him at the time. I said, "Yeah, for sure, light heavyweight." I think that was going off because my last fight was at light heavyweight against Damien Hooper. And I took it with both hands because I wanted to come back again and fight. And I didn't know much of Buatsi at the time, but I just hear now that he's a bronze medalist, Olympian, and there's big raps on him here. I think Saturday night everyone's going to see a different Reynald Quinlan. There's a lot of things that I've actually changed in myself from my last fight with the Hooper. Looking back on that fight, I learned a lot from that fight. Not to feel sorry, even because he's another Indigenous guy, and he was going for a bit of hard times during that fight. And I remember I woke up that morning and I said, I feel sorry. I said, I can't. I don't want to hurt him. And my trainer, before the fight, I said, they said, "What's your plan?" I said, I'll get him in the 5th round. This is before we went out, and they said, "You sure?" I said, "Oh yeah." The 5th round come, I dropped him about 3 times, Hooper, and I could have finished him, but I held off. I don't know why I held off. I just didn't feel like I wanted to thought, no, wait, I'll just go slowly for it. But in the ninth round, he got me on the ropes and he was throwing a lot of punches. And the ref jumped in and stopped the fight. So I'm looking back on that fight and to this fight now that I'm come back here to fight Joshua, JB. If they're looking back on my last 2 or 3 fights, they're going to see a different Randall Quinlan.
How much of a benefit do you think these experiences have been in your career? So certainly the Chris Eubank Jr. fight, because it was over here. I just spoke to you. You've got off a long flight, but you've done it before and you've kind of prepared for fight week. How much of an influence do you think those fights are going to be on this fight? And what have you done, without giving the game away, what have you done different in preparation for this fight as opposed to certainly before you were over to fight Chris Eubank Jr.?
I think with this fight, my mindset was focused like I'm focused with Daniel Gill, when I fought Gill. And I'm feeling much lighter than when I fought Hooper, because I knew that I'll make light heavyweight easy. I never thought I wouldn't train as hard. But for this fight, it's different. My mindset, physically, mentally, I've got the same mindset as I was going into when I fought Gill. It's another opportunity. There's big raps. I'm just starting to hear all this stuff. There's big raps on JB, and everyone on Saturday night at O2 is going to see.
How excited are you to box on? I mean, it's a big show, Sky Sports box office, Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora rematch. How excited are you to be boxing on such a big platform?
I'm very, very excited. Like I said at the time, I'm grateful, thank God that gave me this opportunity. Thanks to the Matchroom. Thank you guys for having me back over here, come back here. It's I think you can't take risks or challenges, especially back home. A lot of the promoters or managers with their bosses, they don't like taking risks or challenges. With me, if you see with my record, my career, I've always took that. Win or lose, I'll learn.
Any idea or any view on the main event? Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora, the headline event?
I just hope that they put on a good show for all the fight fans, for the people worldwide. I think White won the first one. Never know what can happen. You can probably stop him, or as long as it's a good fight, heavyweight.
Okay, well, I do appreciate you coming in today. I know you're very, very busy. You've not long got off a plane. Thank you very much, Randall Quinlan, for popping down to see us today.
Thank you.
Best of luck on Saturday night. I'll be there. Looking forward to seeing you in action against Josh Buatsi.
Thank you very much.
Back to previewing this weekend's action. Josh Warrington defends his IBF World Featherweight title against Carl Frampton in Manchester. Dave, great fight. But first and foremost, let's talk about Josh Warrington. He's somebody who's gone about his career in kind of the old school way. So we started off in the small halls, then won area level titles. English, British, Commonwealth, European. Got that great win against Lee Selby earlier on in the year. And now defends his title against Carl Frampton.
Josh Warrington is the fighter he is now because of... He's just improved and grafted, He was a top amateur, Josh Warrington. I know he had a lot of fights in amateur because when I first started out at the Ingle Gym, Kid Galahad was like a bit of a novice and he was a bit of a novice amateur at the time. When I first started, he had a few amateur fights. He bought Josh Warrington. Josh Warrington was like, he'd had 30, 40 fights at the time, I think. And Barry boxed him twice. So Warrington had a lot of amateur fights, was a good amateur, turned pro. I think did he win the Central Area? I know he won the English against Mail from the Midlands, and then he won the British, the Commonwealth. He's done it all. He did it all the right way, had the right fights. He was brave in leaving Matchroom to go with Frank. He's done it all his own way. He's done it how he wanted to do it, how he and his team perceived was the right way to do it. And at Ellen Road, when he beat Selby, he was proven correct. To be patient.
Do you think sorry to interrupt, do you think a lot of fighters kind of have lost sight of that kind of traditional way of doing things? You mean we live in a sport where sort of WBO, WBA trinkets and ranking points and stuff like that are kind of thrust upon fighters, and they look at that route rather than, not saying that they don't earn their way, but there's certainly a modest way in going Central Area, English, British, European, and so on.
What I will say is, Josh Warrington won all them, and then when he boxed for the world title, when he got an opportunity to box for the world title, he took it and he won it. Anthony Yarde was holding the WBO European belt, WBO number 1. He's been offered the fight, and he's not been able to take it. He's not been ready. If he went the traditional English, British, European title route, and he had them fights and won them all, offered the world title fight, it would have took in more than likely he could have won it. You know? Josh Warrington has done it correctly. He's improved through these fights, and he's improved that much. He's become the world featherweight champion. You know, I've got nothing but admiration for him, and how he's done it, in the manner he's done it. But these trinket belts, I know they've got they're there for a reason, and promoters are using them. But for me, I could have boxed with them in my last 3 fights. I said, I'm not interested. I'm just not interested in them. You know, maybe because I don't see myself boxing for world titles in the near future, but I just don't understand them. You know, boxing would be in a far better place if Joshua Buatsi at the weekend was fighting Callum Johnson for the British title instead of fighting Quinlan for the WBO Intercontinental. You know, and maybe that doesn't work for Eddie because, you know, we need Callum Johnson for sure in February and Buatsi again in March, and we don't want to get one beat, but. You know, and I understand that, but at the same time, boxing would be in a far better place if we were seeing these fights, you know? So, I'm sat here as a boxing fan just wanting to see the best fights, you know, not thinking as a promoter, as whatever, but I wish we were seeing Yarde Buatsi for the British title, or Johnson Buatsi, or Johnson Yarde, and we're missing out on them, and it's a shame.
I think I echo that. I mean, it goes back to kind of what we were saying earlier with kind of the WBC and the WBA with so many different titles. So yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from with regards to that. Your old ping pong partner, Carl Frampton, in the other corner against Josh Warrington. Big fan of Carl Frampton, as I know you are. What do you make of his chances in this fight?
I make Warrington the favourite. I think Frampton's been exceptional. I've been a fan of Frampton since the very beginning. You know, I think he was on Premier Sports with McGuigan back in the early days. Remember watching him, I just thought that he's always been talented. He's fantastic. He's so skillful. And only when you meet him do you realise how small he is. And then you think this man, and then you realise how skillful he really is. I watched something with Barry Jones and Richard Woodall the other day. Barry Jones was showing how Frampton cuts down the distance using his lead hand while edging his foot in and stuff. And Frampton's he's a very clever fighter, a very good fighter. I think at the minute he's a very good fighter. I think the Frampton of 2015 and 16 was an exceptional fighter, and I think that coupled with the fact that Warrington is a very big, strong featherweight, Lee edges me towards a Warrington win on Saturday.
What do you see different from Carl Frampton's point of view compared to, say, the Carl Frampton that boxed Leo Santa Cruz the first time?
Maybe age, just a little bit of spark seems to have gone out of him since the win over Santa Cruz. Just something missing a little bit. And I'm the biggest Frampton fan going. There's a little bit missing. I'm not saying that may come back in a big fight environment. Yeah, just Warrington at Manchester Arena. That may come back, and he may show his class. Because no doubt he's the superior technical fighter, and he probably cracks a little bit harder as well than Warrington. But I think at this stage, Warrington, his engine, his size, his tenacity, the fact that he's just so switched on, you know, his dad in the corner will more than likely say, Josh, hands up, move your head, go behind the jab, put the shots together. And he's like a robot. I think you can just program him in, say to Josh, look, do this is what you need to do. He'll just go and do it for 3 minutes, he'll come back, minute rest, tell him to go again, he'll go again. He'll just do that all night. And I think at this stage in Carl's career, I think Josh may be just a little bit too fresh for him. But Carl, if you're watching, you know I love you. And this is not because you beat me at table tennis. I just think I'm gonna edge it towards Josh.
How impressed have you been with Josh Warrington? I mean, he's somebody who had a very, very close fight with Kiko Martinez not too long ago. Mm-hmm. This year, he's beaten Lee Selby. If he beats Carl Frampton, that's 2 legitimate world-class wins in the same year. You're talking about kind of the realms of fighter of the year, certainly domestically. Yep. Has that surprised you?
Yes and no. I thought Selby would beat Warrington. But watching Warrington come through, you just know he's got what he has, that unbelievable engine, strength, will to win. And what I always say is very important in fighters that I think is overlooked, the ability to take in what someone tells you to do, just to do it, without question, without deviating from it in any way. Just to be able to get your mind, just to be told, look, this is what you need to do to win the fight. And just to be able to do it is so important. I can't do it. You know, when I fought Bracamonte, Mick said, right, let's do this. 3 seconds in, Bracamonte's punched me in the face. He's all out the window. Josh Warrington, he just carries on. He just keeps churning out round after round what he's told. And he does it. So in a way, it's not a shock, because I've always rated him for having that attribute alone, to go along with his engine. I think he's underestimated punch power. I think he does crack a little bit, as he's a big lump when he gets in the ring. So in a way, I didn't think he'd beat Selby, but I knew he'd be a handful, even at the highest level.
Talk about the undercard. Excellent undercard compiled by Frank Warren. Start off with Liam Williams versus Mark Heffron for the British middleweight title. I think that, I don't like the term trade fight, but I think if you're kind of a boxing fan and you follow the sport regularly, that is a really, really good fight.
Yeah, I'm setting up for this one. This is the fight of the weekend for me. If I was at home, I would buy the White Chisora pay-per-view, because I want to watch White Chisora. So that is the fight that I'm most intrigued and interested by. But the best fight, I think the best fight, what will be the best fight, the most exciting fight, is the Heffron Williams fight. Heffron is probably a secret to most. People probably don't know much about Mark Heffron. I first watched Mark Heffron in the ABA semi-final. Mark was 17, so you may be talking 8-9 years ago against Glenn Foote. It was an exceptional fight. Probably the best fight I've ever seen to this day. So I've always kept my eye on him. Interested to see how he got on and where he went. He started his career boxing in Spain, all over. I think he had trouble getting a licence in the UK. It took him a while to get over his height. He's not really boxed too many fights winning records. He beat Andrew Robinson, looked impressive. Beat Lewis Taylor, looked good. This is a massive step up though. Liam Williams may be a light middleweight, but he's a very good one. He's a very big one as well. We were saying earlier, the size of the man's back, he's a big lump. I think this is the nearest to a 50-50 on a night full of 50-50s. Well, not 50-50s, because I just said near 50-50s. This is the nearest to a 50-50 on a night of 55-45s.
Billed as 50-50s.
Yeah. I think it's an exceptional fight. And the winner for me goes on to be a threat at world level.
It's interesting you mentioned about kind of the weight and the size of both men. When I did the press conference a few weeks back in Manchester, Liam Williams came face to face with Mark Heffron for the first time, and if you'd have told me that one of them had come up from super welter, so 154 pounds, to middleweight, I would have said it was Mark Heffron, because Liam Williams, I mean, it's not, when you're kind of discussing the size of a fighter, it's like it's the shoulders, it's the back, as you say, like ankles and things like that. He looked like a big guy for 160, let alone 154.
Yeah, Williams is exceptionally big and strong. The first Smith fight, he was winning the first Smith fight. And Liam Smith, as we've seen with Fielding Canelo, Liam Smith gave Canelo a harder fight than Fielding. And he's a light middleweight. Liam Smith is a really good fighter. I think I've got an edge towards Liam Williams, and Mark Heffron's going to be so upset about that. I'm going to get a FaceTime off him. I just know it. I hope he doesn't watch this. Mark, if you're watching it, I'm sorry. I've got an edge towards Liam Williams. I always say when I make predictions, you have to go with proven fact over what you're not sure about, over what could be great. You've got to go with what you've seen with your own eyes. We've seen Liam Williams perform at world level. We've seen him with Liam Smith, outboxing Liam Smith for long periods of the fight. Mark Heffron winning, would it surprise me? No. Mark Heffron can punch. He's tough. He's strong. Great work rate. He's wild. He's erratic. He's exciting. The winner of this fight is nearing world class at middleweight.
How good is Mark Heffron? Because he's somebody that's not massively well known, I think is fair to say, and he's kind of tried to manoeuvre himself into a big fight for a while. Was going to box Jason Welborn for the British middleweight title before Welborn took the fight with Jarrett Hurd. You're somebody who's seen a lot of Mark Heffron. How good is he, and what kind of threats does he pose?
He's very good. Like I say, he's very big. I thought it was a massive middleweight. That just shows how big Liam Williams is. I did think Mark would be bigger. I thought it would be the bigger man. I've not seen him together. So you saying that to me is a shock to me, as Mark is a big middleweight. First and foremost, a little bit of tell people what Mark's like. Mark's mad. Mark is mad. Mark is a character, you know. And if he beats Liam Williams, people really get behind him because he's a really nice kid, and he's very funny. He's got me laughing thinking about him. But as a fighter, it's exciting, you know. He just wants to knock everybody out, and that's what he's been doing, but at a much lower level than this. And in boxing, I hate saying it because I see it all the time on people on Twitter, but it is
What are you going to say?
It is all about them
levels.
It is all about them levels. And I'm not saying Mark Heffron can't get to that level, but in boxing, you don't go from there to there. You go from there to there to there, then you get there, you know? So my worry is that this is a step too far. Maybe not too soon, but because he's not a young man anymore, but there's increments. You've got to take them increments. He's not incrementing the step up. He's just going from there and he's going straight to there. That's my worry. Would it surprise me if he beats Liam Williams? Absolutely not.
Another fight in the middleweight division. Got Martin Murray, who's sort of like evergreen Martin Murray. He's kind of been around the block and back again. Still on the verge of a world title fight. Boxing Hassan and Dam. What do you make of that fight? That's two guys who have, as I've said, both been around, both been in with some great fighters, and Dam's been in with Peter Quillen. He's been in with Ryota Murata. Yep. These are two really, really good level middleweights.
These are two, proper fighters. You know, they've been in with everybody. Is it a sexy fight? Some fights are sexy, and some fights are just good, solid fights. This is a good, solid fight. There's nothing sexy about this fight. It's just, and it isn't going to be a technical masterpiece from one fighter or the other. It's just going to be a hard 12-round affair. I don't see either of them getting the other one out of there. I don't really have any strong feeling on who will win the fight. I hope Murray wins it. I hope he has no crack at a world title. It'd be great for him.
I think he's actually in line to box for the WBC still.
I would love to see the winner of Heffron Williams fight the winner of Murray and Dam if it's Murray. I think that would make perfect sense.
If you're Murray, though, you're probably not going to want that fight, right? You're probably not going to want the winner of that. Go back down to British level.
The money for if you're a mandatory challenger, sometimes the money isn't what people think. I know world title challengers who get less than six figures. That happens pretty regular. There could even be more money in a Williams Heffron fight for Murray than there is in a world title fight, as mad as that may seem to some.
It's interesting. Nathan Gorman, somebody you know very well.
Yeah.
Big smile across your face. Both of you always have great things to say about each other, so I'm not going to ask you if you think he's going to beat Razvan Krajanu, but tell us all a little bit about kind of your relationship with Nathan Gorman. You're two very, very lovely men who I would never ever guess were fighters if I didn't know you.
I first met Nathan before he turned pro. Ricky got in touch with Mick and said, I've got an heavyweight, can David come and spar him? And that was about 3 years ago, and we've just sparred ever since. Just a nice fella, you know. He looks about 90. You talk to him and he's about 15. You know, I love him. Kajanu's a good fight. It's a big step up, really. You know, Kajanu effectively is a sparring partner. People say, "Fucking hell, Dave, you can't say that," but it's true. He's a big sparring partner. He's a big punch bag. I expect Nathan to get him out of there. All Nathan is lacking at the moment is a bit of man strength and a bit of power. And at 22, they're still to come. And I think when they do come, he can go on and I think he'll get to world level. Yeah, I think he's that good technically. He's that well schooled. He's like Tyson Fury. He's of the same ilk as that. He just needs a bit more time to mature.
He's got that kind of forgotten about heavyweight style. Really, he's a conventionally a small heavyweight now.
Yeah.
He's not historically. He wouldn't have certainly been considered to be, but like he's not one of these 6'7", 8, 9 behemoths, but he's somebody who's really skilled and very, very talented.
Yeah, he was a good boxer as an amateur. You know, I watched him as an amateur. He was good. He's gone with Ricky, and Ricky showed him things, and Nathan's a natural, the same as Tyson is. He's able to pick it up and use it how he sees fit, and he's a good fighter. I've sparred a lot of heavyweights, and Nathan has to be up there as one of the best. He's very sharp, very clever, and all he's lacking is things that will come with time. I think they will come with time, and the way they're matching him, starting with Cojanu, he's good, very good.
Another fight on that card is somebody you know well. I don't know how well you know him, but you know him certainly recently. Michael Conlan boxes Jason Cunningham.
Yeah. Jason Cunningham I know very, very well.
Go on.
A good friend of mine.
Good fighter, very tricky fighter.
From Doncaster.
Also, we were talking about Reece Bellotti earlier. Jason Cunningham gave Reece Bellotti a very, very good fight at York Hall. That was an excellent fight. But well, first of all, tell me about your kind of relationship with Jason Cunningham.
Me and Jace was at the same amateur boxing club. When I started there 9.5 years ago, Jason was there. Jason just won the ABA title. I remember him coming in with a trophy. I was like, who's this? I actually sparred him. The first man I ever sparred in a boxing ring properly in an amateur boxing gym, head guard on, coach was watching, was Jason Cunningham, who weighed probably 9 stone at the time. I was about 13.5 stone, 16 years old. And he beat me up. The first one I ever sparred was Jason Cunningham. I always say that. I always tell that story. I'm sure anyone cares, but I'll tell it anyway.
Well, I've never heard that story before.
The first man I ever sparred properly, Jason Cunningham. Lovely man. He's had a great career. Super flyweight. He was a beast. He was massive. He was on a roll till Birkenshaw beat him. They was thinking he was going to go all the way. He's a lovely man, you know, Jason Cunningham. Lovely. He's up at featherweight now. I don't like the Conlan fight for him. Conlan's good. I knew Conlan was good with the amateur background. I watched him spar when I was down at Adams. Good, you know. Certain fighters I watched, there's not many. I'd say in the whole time I've been involved in boxing 9.5 years, I can count on both hands the times I've watched fighters and I've said, wow, they're special, he's one of them. Yeah, he's good. Very good.
Where do you kind of see his ceiling? Is it going to be world championships?
I expect him to be world champion. Every fighter I've stopped in the gym and gone and literally stopped and watched them and said, I'm watching something special. They've all gone on to be, or at the time, been a world champion. And you can I just feel it. I just watch him. And when I first saw Tyson Fury, I said I knew he was going to be world champion. I backed him to beat Hay and then Klitschko. There's just something special about him. And with Michael Conlan, I got the same feeling. He was sparring. I'll not tell you who was sparring because I'll give the story away now. But unbelievably talented. Unbelievably.
What's he like as a fella? I mean, I have a brief experience with him from an interviewing perspective, but that's not quite the same.
Just a straight fella. I like him because what you see with Mark Conlan is when he was flagging the judges off, that is Michael Conlan. He's brutally straight and up front. But a nice cheeky fellow with it. He gets away with it because you think, fucking hell, Michael. But I like him. I do really like him. And he's very, very good.
Just finally on the Warrington-Frampton card, we also see the return of Billy Joe Saunders. Had himself quite a year. It'll actually be the first time he's boxed this year. Last time he was in action was against David Lemieux around this time last year. I think it was the anniversary a couple of days ago. What do you make of Billy Joe's kind of 12 months, really?
I think it's the 12 months he likes to put behind him.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
I saw Billy Joe at the Kell Brook fight. Shook his hand, said hello. And I wanted to say to him, which I didn't get a chance. I just wanted to say, as a boxing fan, I just want to see him be the best he can be. Put all that nonsense to one side, get on with the boxing, because he's another one like Tyson Fury. That's just got talent to burn. Like, it's just, I want to see him 100%. I want to see what he can do. I want to see him fight the Canelo, the Golovkins, the Charlos, the Jacobs, because I don't think we've seen him 100%. We saw him against Lemieux, but Lemieux wasn't good enough to bring out the real best in him. So Saunders, as a boxing fan, I just want to see what he can do. Put all that nonsense to the side. That's not impressing anybody. It impresses with your ability. You know, that's what I wanted to say to him. But Eddie was in the way. He went to shake my hand, and Eddie went to shake his hand, and Billy Joe was like, "I don't want to shake your hand. I'm going to shake my hand." And I was like, "Mate, hello, mate." I was like, "Hello."
What did Eddie say to that?
He just laughed. You know, I don't think he cares. But Billy Joe Saunders, yeah. As far as his boxing goes, no one can sit, and you can't really say anything. He's fantastic. They're the same milk of a Fury, of a Conlan, just a natural ability.
So it's going to be difficult for him to get back into kind of world title contention, given everything that's happened. I mean, he's failed a drugs test and he's served a subsequent ban, stripped of his title. Kind of the line that I find myself coming up with all the time is slippery southpaw, great hand and foot speed, and failed a drugs test. So who's going to want to fight him?
Yeah, he's in the Who Needs Him club. Like he's the president of it.
Yeah.
He owns it. I wouldn't box him. I think he's going to struggle. You know, he's fighting Zoltan Zera, I think, on Saturday. That's just a run out, you know. Then where does he go? He doesn't come back down to the domestic level. I was about to even question then, does he go for the Murray fight again? I don't think Murray would agree. I don't think Murray would entertain the fight. I don't think he fights. Well, he definitely doesn't fight Williams if he beats Heffron because he's with the same gym. Where does he go? I don't think all the big American names touch him. There's no one in the UK for him. Does he go to super middleweight? Is he big enough for super middleweight? If he does, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't know.
It's kind of like that. He's sort of the archetypal middleweight, isn't he? You see him and you think, yeah, couldn't make 154. And if you went up to 160, I mean, he's not like a ripped. I mean, he's in great shape out of the Ingle camp, but he's not like a shredded, massive middleweight who you could definitely see going up to 168. So
he's in a very difficult position. 2019 will be interesting. You worry that if he doesn't get the fights, if the fight doesn't come early in 2019, does he go off the rails and fizzle out of boxing? I'm not sure. It would be a shame. I think the best thing they can do is just keep him busy and active, and I think they have to get him in a position where they have to force one of the big names into a fight with him. As I say, I wouldn't go near him if I was a middleweight and I didn't need to box him.
Okay, well, there we have it. Previews done for this weekend's bouts. White Chisora 2 and Warrington Frampton. Up next, we've got unbeaten light heavyweight contender Anthony Yarde giving us his update on his career as well as his previews for this weekend's fights. Welcome back. We are now joined by light heavyweight sensation, Mr. Anthony Yarde. Anthony, thanks very much for coming down. I hope you like the new surroundings.
It's a nice setup, man.
Thank you very much. I mean, I think the first time I interviewed you, I had a camera, but I also had a phone underneath to record the audio because I didn't have a shotgun mic, and now we're here.
Now we're here. Elevation.
Yeah. We've both come an awful long way in that period of time. First and foremost, last time I saw you, LA. Tell me about that. What happened?
Basically, again, as you go through your career, you learn different things. You go through different experiences. So obviously, I fought October 20th, so I had like a 3-week training camp for the fight. But again, the same way, I stay in shape anyway, so I was ready. I've said it to you in the interview before. Give me 3 weeks. So I was ready. We went out to LA, tried to get a little bit of time out there to get rid of the jet lag, etc. So we've got 10 days out there, ready to fight. We had an opponent before we went out there, but again, it was still saying to be announced on Boxrec and things like that because the opponent hadn't signed anything yet, so it wasn't all solidified. When we got there, I think 2 days into being there, that opponent pulled out. He was the one that obviously had been agreed for the longest amount of time, and then got another guy. He pulled out like a day later. Got another guy. He pulled out. So in total, it was 4 pull-outs. Last minute, they got a guy. He's from California, so there was no excuses. He was already there. He agreed to fight straight away. He must have seen it as like an opportunity or whatever. And then, yeah, we was both there. both done our medicals, all that kind of stuff. Because each state, this is again something I'm learning on the job. Each state you go to, you have to do a new medical, even if it's in America and all that kind of thing. So yeah, got there, done our medicals, everything the same, all the regulations done, everything was intact. And then we're at the weigh-in. He's at the weigh-in, everything. We're both ready, and then Frank Warren calls Tunde and was like you need to get here now, like a bit earlier than time was meant to be there. We get there, I see Frank Warren angry, shouting. I said something's wrong, and then we got there. The guy from the California State Commission was just like, this fight ain't happening. It's been taken off the bill. No explanation. He was just like, your opponents have 3 days notice. But the opponent was there. He was even saying, I want to fight. It's a good opportunity or whatever. They were like, nah, fight's not happening. Literally. And then obviously Frank Warren was just explaining that he's been in the sport for, we know he's long in the tooth.
100 years.
Yeah, 70 years. And he's never heard of this in his life. People take fights on 24 hours notice. So yeah, that was the situation. Again, I was angry initially. Within 10 minutes, again, you know me, I always try to look at positive and things like that. I said, you know what, it's still an experience. I'm still here. It shows me the level I'm getting to. And just keep working. Everything's timing.
There we go. We're 2 minutes in and we've got our first everything is time, and it won't be our last one. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the fact that, I mean, I very, very seldom ever see you kind of angry, or not even necessarily angry, but kind of disgruntled, as it were. But
yeah,
that must have been very frustrating. You've been out there. You were out there the Wednesday before I got there, so I got there on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I'd known that you've been out there for a while, and obviously you've got to make weight, and you're in this anticipation of fighting one of the biggest cards of the year. So, what was that like? Getting told that by Frank at the 11th hour. I mean, I'm sure Frank wasn't happy about it either, knowing Frank as I do. How did you take that initially?
Initially, again, I was just like, don't know if I could say on the channel, but
you can, yeah, no problem.
I was pissed off. I was angry. I had my head down. I was clenching my jaws, and I was like, "Are these not mad? Like, what are they talking about the fight?" So, and the reason they were given was getting me more angry. Cause I knew it didn't make sense. But then again, 10 minutes in, I went back to my senses and I said, everything's timing, things happen for a reason. The positive I could take from this is that I'm here. There's a lot of people that want to be here. I'm here. Again, new experiences, coming to a different state, seeing how they operate, how things are done, being more prepared on my behalf, my team's behalf, and just learning, literally, because everyone knows I'm learning on the job anyway. I don't have a lot of amateur fights. In the professional game, I'm 17 fights in, and still learning.
What was it like in LA? I know I saw on Tunde's, who still owes me an interview, by the way. I saw on Tunde's, I think it was his Twitter or his Instagram, that you went to get some work at the Wild Card and it was shut. I think because of Thanksgiving. Did you venture around to the various gyms in LA?
No, we just, from we got a gym to train, from we got some heavy bags, gym space, ring space, we can work, so we went there. And everyone knows Wildcard Gym is a world-renowned gym. So we went there, done some training, and then we had a gym at our hotel, or Tunde's hotel as well, so we done like other things there. But we didn't really venture that much. On Thanksgiving, every gym was closed. So we just went to the gym in the hotel.
I know it's obviously not, I mean, you've boxed in America before, but I know you went out to watch Bivol, Alvarez, Kovalev earlier on. How did the Wilder Fury atmosphere compare to other fights that you've been to in America or back here?
Well, compared to, as you were saying, the Bivol and Kovalev show, completely different. That again, that was like when I went to the same kind of atmosphere as when I went to Floyd's fights in Vegas. Crazy. Obviously, it's heavyweights as well. Biggest show of the year. 2 undefeated heavyweights in their prime, etc., etc., etc. The story behind it with Fury's story. Wilder's, claim to fame. He's got a fantastic record and things like that, but he's still lacking that stardom quality. So again, this would have helped boost him. And the atmosphere was crazy. Wilder's ring walk was one of the best ring walks I've seen in my life. It was live. Really good, yeah. I was like, yeah. So
I was really scared the first time. The
what? Are you mad? Listen, everyone knows me. I'm from East London. I've heard that kind of stuff in different kind of atmospheres before. Yeah. that got me scared. And I was filming myself as well, but I had to post it. I was filming myself dancing, and then it went off, and I was like, I still posted it, laughing. Yeah, it was good.
What did you make of the fight? I think general consensus was that a lot of people had Fury winning the fight. Is that how you saw it?
You know what? Obviously, when you're there, it's always different. I still haven't watched it on TV yet. Me and two of my friends last night, we saw it come up on the screen. I was like, I need to watch it on TV because, you know, when you're there, you know, they say like when you're at a boxing event, every angle is different. Like when you're around the ring, everyone sees it different. So when I saw it, I called it straight away. I said, this is a draw. Or, because they're in Wilder's hometown and he's dropped him twice, they're going to give it to Wilder. But I said, I think Fury's won the fight. Like, we was talking between us. There was a lot of English people there. And then they were like, who you got? After that, the sixth round, I was like, Fury's winning, easy. He's probably like, Wilder's probably won like one round. So everyone was excited or whatever. And then in the ninth round, he dropped him. And I was like, oh dear.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Wilder can finish. Like, he's a finisher. And then, again, Fury showed his ability. Stuck it out. And then when he dropped him in the 12th, I said, the fight's over. There's no way he's getting up from that. When my man got up here, I said, the warrior in this brother. I couldn't believe it. I said, look, it's either Wilder deserves the draw because of the two knockdowns, or Fury deserves to win just for getting up from that punch. Literally, that's how it was. It was a fantastic fight. You know, everyone had their views on it. I saw it as this. You know, when you go to someone else's backyard and they're the champion, you have to take that belt. You can't go there and it's close. Like 9 times out of 10, you have to take the belt from them. Like, but I don't know. I thought it was a fantastic fight. I was very entertained, and I said straight away, I said they're gonna give it a draw. They're gonna do it again. That makes sense to me anyway. I think that's what was deserved.
I mean, it was an amazing fight. It was one of those fights that even the early rounds when there wasn't that much action, it was that kind of suspense and Fury kind of, because he'd been out of the ring for so long and he'd fought 2 very kind of low-key warm-up fights and he's in against a puncher, had that kind of anticipation. You could sort of cut the atmosphere with a knife in there, couldn't you?
Definitely. It was for me again. That was a history fight. That fight's gonna be shown for years and years and years. Everything about it, you know, the story behind it with Fury battling the depression thing and mental health. That's a serious issue, and it's becoming more and more common because people are coming out with it, etc. And again, I always tell people this: you don't know what other people are going through. So when you see all these, even again going off the topic of boxing, I found out recently that Cardi B and the rapper Offset, is it Offset? Yeah, Offset. They broke up, and even though they broke up or whatever happened between them, I don't even know if I got it. I know it's one of the Migos, isn't it? Still, again, she was defending him on social media. She was like, people don't know what it's like being a celebrity and things like that. You bash these people, you ridicule them, you cuss them or whatever, but they're human beings. You know, they have emotions, etc. So she was defending him. She was like, we're not getting back together, but I know how that stuff feels. Like, stop bashing people. You don't know what people are going through. So again, I always say that as well. You don't know what people are going through. Tyson Fury faced like a lot of social media, ridicule, etc. And everyone deals with things different. So for him to bounce back through that showed his character. And again, him getting up from that punch again showed his character. And he gained a lot of respect from Wilder. You saw it straight away after the interview. And you saw it in his eyes as well. When
he got up.
Listen, the way I was laughing, because he's dancing and he went, the look he gave him, that's like he saw a ghost. So yeah, no, it was good, man. All the way.
You mentioned, let's just backtrack a little bit. You mentioned, I think, you made a very interesting point with social media and kind of, I mean, you're somebody yourself, you have a very high profile, big profile, a lot of people know who you are. Well, it's getting there. You've got a bigger profile than I have, let's put it that way. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with kind of scrutiny? You're always somebody who strikes you as a very relaxed person, but you're also a fighter. So those two things don't always blend. And I know the fighter comes out in you sometimes, and I know the relaxed person comes out in you sometimes. How have you dealt with kind of the bigger your profile has got, the more scrutiny that you've had?
The way I deal with it is not like feeding into it. Obviously, everyone knows me. Like, what happens is on social media, people, they got all this, like the keyboard warriors. But face to face, everyone wants to be your friend. So again, you don't know who's the fake ones, who's the real ones. You just appreciate everyone as you see them. You don't judge people. So anyone that does approach me or asks for a picture or says they like me or whatever, I welcome them with open hands. And I appreciate people like that even take the time to say something. But at the same time, it's happened to me before where one of the people that was on social media cussing me saying, oh, you're fighting bums, you're doing this, you're nobody, was a person that come and took a picture of me. Like, literally, he was like, oh yeah, like, I think you're great or whatever. And then he posted a picture of me, and then someone, you know, people are on social media, people pick up all sorts of things. Someone screenshotted like what he was saying about me, and then screenshotted the picture, put it together, and was like, you should be embarrassed of yourself. Things like that, you never know who's who. But I don't feed into the negativity, I only feed on the positivity. Because for me, as again, someone like Tyson Fury, you never know what's around the corner. You know, no one knows why he fell into depression or anything like that, because he was cool before. So life always has its like little obstacles or whatever. So always try and look at the positive and things. I don't feed into no negativity.
One other thing that happened in LA, I was interviewing Andy Lee, I think it was. And I'd just finished and I'd gone away, and then I heard lions in the camp. Lions in the camp. And I sort of waddled back in because I'm not really much of a runner these days. And I saw you with Hosea Burton.
Oh yeah, I wasn't with him.
No, not you were standing near Hosea Burton.
Yeah.
What happened?
I bet it's tactics. Like, you've seen it before with Frank Bugaloni. It's tactics. I don't know if he was there for me. If he was there for me, that's.
I think he's Fury's cousin. I think, or I think he's a relative, a distant relative of Tyson Fury. I think.
Well, all I remember from the situation was I had a fight. It wasn't him I was fighting. So again, when, you know, people have their tactics or their ways of getting into things, I just saw it as, okay, I know what you're doing. Because literally just before he didn't really approach me on anything negative, because he didn't know what reaction he was gonna get. So he was like, Anthony, I heard my name, and he goes, I'm Hosea Burton. We need to make this fight happen, man. We need to make this fight happen. And then obviously when certain cameras come around, I think one of his boys was like, "What? Come on, man. We need to make this fight happen, man." So I looked at him. I was like, "What? You the fighter?" I was like, "Okay, you're the fighter. I'll get you." And I was like, "I'm fighting." So that's where my focus is. Like, I'm fighting this Saturday, so relax or whatever. And then Tunde, I said it straight away. Where we got that thing in us, that fire thing. And then Tunde straight away was like, hold on. So what? Like, I said to Unc, relax. That's what I'm saying. This
I
is
could
energy.
just see Tunde's face.
Yeah,
anyway,
I was like, this
on.
is energy. I said, when you got your own fight coming up, you don't feed into all that, because we know what they're doing. Literally, it must have been the last interview I did about a good 10 to 12 interviews. And then the last interview I did, the guy was telling me, he goes, I know you don't call no one up, but it's a thing that we do in America and we love it. Like, I think you should start calling people out. If Adonis Stevenson or Badou Jack's fighting, call them out, because their names in the headlines, them there. I said, I know the tactics. I said, from I started boxing, I studied the sport. I started watching it properly. I saw the tactics. I saw things that people done. Even when Mosey got in the ring with Floyd, you know, it's all tactics. Everyone does it. Even with that show, one of the Charlo brothers got in the ring with everyone. Like, everybody does it. It's a thing that they do to build fights. Sometimes it's staged, sometimes it's not. So again, when he approached, like, straight away I clicked and I said, like, I know what you're doing. You're trying to get a fight, because you're at a point in your career where, you know, your name's not popping no more. So what they done is they associate their self with your name. They get more views. People become more. Who's that then? Oh, okay, that's the next fight. It's tactics. Same thing Frank Bugaloni done, and then all of a sudden, we offer him the fight. This whole thing comes up. I'm actually thinking, okay, this guy's called me out now. We offered to fight him, but he's called me out now, so this fight's gonna happen. Fight never happened because of him, and then he loses a fight. He loses his belt, so he loses the thing that made the fight relevant. Then he has a fight again and he retires. It's tactics.
Hosea Burton, does that fight interest you? I mean,
Right now, I'll be honest with you.
Not right now, we're doing this, but after this, maybe sometime in the future.
No. Right now, where we're at in our careers, does the fight interest me? Has he got anything for me? No. Like it's I'm on a journey to become a world champion. It's a big ask. A lot of people think I can do it from the fights they've seen me have, etc. He does not bring anything to the table right now. It's a domestic fight people might want to see because he's previous British champion, etc. And because some of the public are starting to say, yeah, I think you should fight Jose Burton, etc. Because the talk was Jose Burton, Callum Johnson, Frank Bugaloni, and Joshua Buatsi. That's the 4 names that everyone was talking about. So they're the 4 fights that people are interested in. Buatsi right now, he's on the come up, undefeated. Name's growing, he's a bronze medalist. Bugaloni had a name.
Retired now
again. Was British champion. Again, my tune has stayed the exact same. When Bugaloni, before he was champion, I was 8 fights in. I was like, that's a good fight for me. He's very experienced, etc. He didn't take the fight. When he became British champion, I said, that fight is very good for me. Like, he's British champion. He turned down the fight. And then all of a sudden, he calls me out. So I was like, rah, okay, he has something to bring to the table. He's a British champion. I want the British belt. Let's make it happen. Callum Johnson beats him. And then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This fight makes sense. Again, that fight made sense to me. Callum Johnson just beat Bugaloni. So I was like, okay, cool. That's a fight that we can make happen. He took another opportunity. He fell short. Who was after him? And then again, there's the Joshua Buatsi thing. So these fights are building. If Jose Burton keeps doing his job, he gets back into that firing range. That fight can be a fantastic fight.
And you're somebody who you've got the high ranking in the WBO. I mean, I've spoken to
Definitely.
Tundi and I've spoken to Frank at various different points where I've kind of alluded to fights in and around British level.
Yes,
Let's go
yes.
say those 4 names, for example, are kind of in and around British level. Well, 3 names because now Buglioni's retired. Are you interested in fighting for the British title? Or is it kind of, you've mentioned obviously every boxer's goal is to be world champion. You're somebody who's got very high ranking in the WBO. Would you still be interested for the right fight at the right money for the British title?
Well, definitely. And that's just because of, the history behind it in British boxing. It's a prestige belt to have. I did start to feel like the opportunity for the British belt started to slide because of the whole Bugaloni thing. One thing I've realised about boxing as well is that people just listen to the person that talks the most. They don't know about the facts, how things happen, what offers were made, what negotiations were made. They just listen to what someone says and take it as gospel. Is that the case? Okay, this person's ducking. When I heard, that people said I ducked Bugaloni, the laughter that came up my face, I couldn't believe it. But again, that's what I'm saying. When you start becoming more experienced in the sport, everyone's opinionated. Everyone's got their opinions. People got their favourite fighters, who they support, and they're always going to support them, no matter what. So again, you don't buy into it. You go to the facts. Are we going to fight? The negotiations there. Is the fight going to happen? Yes, no, okay, let's make the fight happen. No, keep it moving.
Kind of goes back to a little bit of what we were talking about earlier with kind of social media and
Yes.
people on the outside looking in. I've said this to you before. I know you well enough to know at this point that there is 2 sides to you. You are this very relaxed, charming man who went out too late last night. As we see here, we'll leave that alone though. But you're also a fighter.
Yes.
And hearing all of this stuff, this external stuff, being, people saying that you're ducking certain fighters, I don't believe that doesn't bother you.
Do you know what? It actually doesn't.
I don't believe it.
Listen to me. Okay, everyone's different, Everyone deals with things differently. I will say this on camera again because I'm not afraid of my past or where I've come from. I've always been the person you see, the laughy, jokey, happy Anthony. But then I've also, just like everybody else, I've got another side to me. Growing up, I am the same person. Happy, laughy, jokey, ha ha ha, he. If you get the wrong side of me, I've got a different side. There's people growing up, I'll slap people in the face. people talking behind my back, clap, all them kind of things. But again, I've grown. And then when you go through certain things or you grow up in a certain, you know, everyone grew up different, but people talking, and it built so fast. If something's not true about Anthony, just don't say it. Or if you hear about something about Anthony, approach him and ask him, find out if it's true first before you start going to spread the rumours. And I didn't care how gangster you was, I didn't care who you rolled with, because I knew a lot of people anyway, I didn't care who you rolled with. If in certain confrontations, I don't care. Like that's how I grew up, but then again, you grow up and then you start to have something to look forward to. Your life starts changing, you know. You're able now to help your mum, you know, take your mum out of like struggling financially. You're able to like help your sister, things like that. So now you've got something to look forward to. So all them negative things that you start to see, you've been through that. So you've grown. So when you see like, you know, people on the internet and things that you can't control, if something's not in your control, why and how would you let it affect you? People are always going to talk. I could become world champion tomorrow. There's going to be people out there still saying, yeah, but, you know, that was easy for him. He was built to become that. You know, yeah. There's people saying it. I heard this the other day and I started laughing. Someone said, I had over 50 amateur fights. They're like, yeah, he was like I think he went to Olympic qualifiers, etc. Where does people get this information from? I started boxing when I was just before I turned 19, had my first amateur fight before I turned 20. When did this happen? Like, so again, and people out there will believe that and spread it on. I've heard people have done interviews with me in America and they were like, you know, yeah, you had you know, what was it? Just under 50 amateur fights? That's not a lot of amateur fights. I said, bro, I had 12. Where did you hear I had 50? So people hear things and then again, that's speculation. So that's now their you know, their information. That's it. Someone else's voice. So again, you can't listen to things you hear, read, or anything like that. The only thing people should listen to is something they hear come out of my own mouth, because that's the only thing that's going to be facts.
I think it's important to kind of address that. I mean, there are certain people. I mean, I think it's well known that you had 12 amateur fights, and you've been saying that since you turned over. Mm-hmm. But so those people, I don't think you can really pay much attention to, because that's obviously false. But I think certainly, and this is again something I've mentioned to you in the past, certainly from a lot of fans' perspective, we see your talent. Yeah. And we kind of just want to see you in the mix with these guys. And 100%. I think a lot of the it's a tough one, because I think it manifests in different people in different ways. But I think a lot of people would just like to see you fight a Jose Burton, a Frank Buglioni before he retired, a Callum Johnson, a Josh Buatsi. That's a different type of sort of pressure and a different type of suggestion than somebody who's just saying, oh, well, regardless of what you do, not going to give you credit. So does that kind of play on your thoughts, in a sense of like, they are criticising in a way, but in a way that it's kind of a compliment that they'd just like to see more of you in more competitive fights. Do you get that?
I definitely get that. And again, I'm a person that's a realist. So when I heard, because obviously I knew, like, we've had meetings and we know the route that we was going to take, and it's all going to plan. I'm doing my job, you know, each fight I'm having, I'm looking good. And that was the plan. Look good in your fights. Do your job, we will do our job. And because I've been doing my job, I've risen quickly in the sport. You've never seen a guy, and again, it's like becoming like a broken record. I keep saying it. Like, you've never seen a guy with 12 amateur fights turn professional and rise so quickly. Or within my 10th amateur fight, 10th professional fight, people saying, yeah, you should be fighting for the British title. Oh yeah, he's at that level now. He's at this level now. So the rise was so quick. So I know I'm doing something right. The people that want to see me fight certain people, as you said, do I see a negative in it? No. It shows me like the level I'm at. I got offered to fight for a world title in my 15th professional fight. Tunde is my witness. He told me in the sauna. When he said, yeah, you know, we got offered to fight for the IBF, and I think it was the WBO at the time.
WBO, so it was Beterbiev for the IBF and Kovalev for the WBO, yeah.
I stood up in the sauna. I said, already? I said, like, let's make this happen. When are we fighting? Like, when's the date? Like, which one we're going to take? He goes, this is Tony's reaction. He's done this with his hands. He goes, relax. He goes, we're not going to take any of them fights now. I said, okay, now you need to explain, because I don't understand this. when he explained it to me, and then I spoke to Frank Warren as well about it. Frank Warren even turned it down before he told Tunde. He was like, I've turned it down. He goes, we can go back, but I don't think that's the right fight right now. It's silly. Once you become, I know this anyway, once you become world champion, it's only an upward scale. You only fight people in the top 20, etc. And he still has more experience again. I still want to see this. I still want to see him in this situation, which is understandable. And again, I'm not in no rush. I'm confident within myself. You know, again, somebody that who I rate them and I don't rate them for the opportunity they took. Callum Johnson, he took an opportunity. Yes, he done himself justice. He fought a good fight, etc. But was it rushed? Probably. You know, he just come back off of a long layoff, won the belt in the first round, which was no rounds in the ring, and then he went into a world title fight against a guy who's considered dangerous. Once you get called for these opportunities, you know you're there. You're in that firing range. You're in that limelight. So the opportunity, if you keep doing what you're doing, it's going to present itself again. That's the way I see things. So people wanting to see me in certain fights, it shows me the level I'm at. I want to see myself in these fights as well, because you know, when you hear something, it's not like it bothers me, it just motivates me. And then again, we're in the boxing game, so it's not like I'm going to be, you know, fighting the guys I'm fighting forever. You know, again, even, this is how you know about boxing, yeah? The guy I fought last, yeah, October 20th, that guy was ranked higher than any British fighter other than Callum Johnson, who again fought for a world title and who is current British champion, I think. I don't know if he's relinquished it or not. But I still got stick for it because he's not known in England. Around the world, comments I'm getting, etc. Oh, that was a fantastic performance. That guy's tough, you know, blah 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 blah. But to the common British fans in Britain, they wasn't happy because they want to see me fight a name, not someone that's ranked. Do you get what I'm saying? So I understand the game, and as I said to you earlier in this interview, everything is time.
Well, I get that, but you are based in Britain.
100%.
That's kind of your bread and butter, as it were, from a fan base perspective. And you're somebody who, through no real fault of your own, has been given a huge push. I mean, not to say that you don't deserve it. You've obviously worked very hard for it, but you've kind of got this big profile. Does part of you think, okay, now you've told me this before that you want a domestic fight?
Yes.
Because is it because of that? Is it because of wanting to kind of not please the fans, but kind of give the fans something, or is there an element of, right, okay, I'll take this domestic fight because it will shut people up or anything like? Do you not feel that you kind of have to look after the best interests or your best interest with regards to the British boxing public by taking a Jose Byrne, by taking a Callum Johnson, one of those fights?
I feel like every single legendary fighter, and again, I'm looking at legendary fighters. I don't really look at ordinary fighters because I'm aspiring to be a legendary fighter. So when you look at all these legendary fighters and you look at their careers, there came a point in all of their careers where they were hated, not disliked, hated, for whatever reason it was.
Do you feel hated now? Sorry to interrupt.
No, I don't feel hated. I feel people are frustrated. I feel people are impatient, which is acceptable. I'm impatient sometimes. You know, I might see something and be like, I want to see this fight happen now. Or I might be watching a football game. I'll be like, hurry up and score. It's you know they can score, but you want to see it now. You don't want to wait until the next half and go on a break. You want to see it now. Because you're a spectator, you want to be entertained. I understand it. For me, I know this, that now I'm at a point in my career where, again, I see it as this: I'm doing an apprenticeship in front of the world. Limited amateur experience, limited professional experience so far. And I'm learning on the job in front of the world. You know, being in a boxing ring. Bilal Ali, someone that trains with me, someone that's, you know, grown with me, etc., had his first professional fight Saturday just gone. First thing he said to me, he goes, bruv, it's so different when you're fighting like in a professional boxing ring. Smaller gloves, no head guard,
lights, people
watching you, lights. It's different. Like, everything was different. I said, just take your time, bruv. Like, it's gonna come. My first few fights as well, I was thinking, this is mad. Like, it's just different. Like, you might throw a shot and it slides off of the person. You know, raw, like in the gym, that lands clean, like it sticks. These punches are sliding off, hitting someone to the body, sliding up their back. things like that. So again, you gain experience over time. There's no rush. In the next 2 years, if like when I'm world champion and I've beaten these domestic guys, no one will care about me taking my time or the fight's not happening when they want it to happen. When it does happen, they become satisfied. Triple G, Golovkin. Before they fought, everyone was saying, I used to fight each other. We want to see this fight. It dragged out a bit. They fought. Everyone's pleased. Mayweather Pacquiao, they said it was a bit too late, but again, the fight happened. Fury, Wilder, people wanted to see a massive heavyweight fight for years. There was no, apart from Klitschko, Joshua, which again, people always have their excuses. I don't like that stuff. They're still fighting. It don't matter how old somebody is. He's still done his job. He stopped him. People got to see the fight. Same thing that's happening now with Joshua and Wilder. People are talking about it. I said, well, once the fight happens, there's nothing to look forward to. Let the fight drag a bit. I think that fight should happen the end of 2019. Let it keep building. So when it does happen, it's more exciting. They'll still be in their prime, both of them. But now we just build up. When you open Christmas present, it's Christmas, and then your presents are there. You want to run downstairs in the middle of the night and open something. You wait to the day of Christmas. You get to open it anyway. You're still going to get to open it. Be patient.
Let's go back to what you said there. You feel that you're not hated. I think that's a very strong word to use about anything, much less a boxer who you've never met. But you said you feel that people are frustrated with you. Now, take the people who think you've had 50 amateur fights or think you've done this, that, and the other. That's just simply not true. But people who are frustrated, or you feel that they're frustrated with you, do you think they have grounds to be frustrated with you? Do you think they have a point?
Yes and no. Yes, because in boxing, you want to see adversity. You want to see, literally, there's no other word for it. You want to see adversity. You want to see excitement. I give the fans excitement. I give the supporters excitement because I'm stopping opponents. I haven't been in a boring fight yet. And again, I haven't been in a boring fight, but I've been dominant. Very, very dominant. So, people are going to be, wanting to see these things, adversity. I heard it a lot. People that are supporting me saying, I want to see him get hit on the whiskers. And these are people that were supporting me or in my corner saying they want to see me get hit. So again, that's the entertainment factor. That's the can he take a punch factor. That's so many factors. So you can't really, take it personally. It's just what people want to see. It's boxing. You want to see a fight. When it's always one-sided, for me, I always want it to be one-sided.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But to the public eye, if it's always one-sided, they're going to see, we want to see him tested. He's ready for this level. He's ready for that level. I am ready for this level. I'm ready for that level. But there's time. There's a time period. I see it as this. I've been in the sport for 3 years, yeah. When I started my professional career, I said, I want to have about 10 years in the sport. I feel like a good career or great career is 10-year minimum. Floyd Mayweather had an 18-year professional career. And you saw that in the last 6-7 years of his career, that's when he bloomed into a superstar. I say I've got about 7 years left in the sport. When you think about it, it's a very, very long time. So if I keep doing my job, I'm in no rush.
Next fight, you've had this ranking with the WBO for a while. You've mentioned the fact that the Kovalev and Beterbiev fights were offered when you were 14-0, 15-0. What's kind of going to be the next? Because I think that is part of people's frustrations. Is kind of, I understand better than anybody. I'm a boxing fan. The light heavyweight division, certainly at the elite level, is as deep as it's been for years and years and years. You're talking, it's probably as deep as it's ever been. Yeah. What kind of fights in between the fights that you've been fighting and those fights are you looking at? Because I think a lot of people would put your British title guys in between what you've been fighting and that level of opposition, the kind of elite. I think everybody kind of understands 12 amateur fights, 17-0 as a professional. Yeah, probably don't sling him in with Vosdik, who's an Olympic bronze medalist, Dmitry Bivol, extensive amateur career. I think people get that, but people want to see kind of the gap bridged, as it were. What kind of fights do you think are out there for you for that? Because as I say, you've mentioned to me in the past about like a domestic fight. Is that kind of on your radar for the new year?
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you, yeah. With the new year, you know, this 2019, I thought it's going to be a very explosive year.
So is that, are you talking world titles? What kind of...
I honestly don't know right now. Again, if I was I feel like predictions and all them things are people that got the glass globes. You know, people that...
Mystic Meg.
Mystic Megs. So I don't know. I just got to keep doing my job. But I do feel within myself, within this, that 2019 is going to be a very big, explosive and successful year for me. I'm excited about it. And just stay tuned. That's what I can say. Stay tuned. When these fights happen again, I will prove to people that, you know, I'm gonna go all the way. I've got that belief in myself. I train ridiculously hard. And yeah, I think it's gonna be an exciting year. The fights that I need to have to get there, I don't know. Again, if I could fight a person that everyone wants me to fight and knock them out first round, someone will say something negative.
That's boxing.
That's just boxing.
Yeah.
But it's gonna come. It's definitely gonna come.
Person I had in here before you,
Yeah.
Reynold Quinlan, who's fighting Joshua Buatsi this
Yeah.
Saturday. We mentioned Joshua Buatsi. That's a fight I'd love to see, but
Yeah.
I understand
Me
why.
too.
Yeah, of course. I understand why it's not going to happen at this moment in time, if for no other reason than promotional politics. What do you make of Josh Buatsi? I mean, he's stepping in with Reynold Quinlan, somebody who boxed Chris Eubank Jr., albeit at super middleweight. What do you make of him and kind of his career progression, and when could we realistically expect to see you guys in the ring?
Realistically, when you see us in the ring, I don't think either of us know. I don't really watch like interviews and stuff. Even my interviews now, I hardly watch back.
You better watch mine.
I watch yours sometimes. I watch the clips.
Okay, that's okay.
But again, Josh Buatsi always been very respectful. Met him a few times as well. Again, I actually watched him in the Olympics when he won the bronze medal. I was rooting for him. Again, a British fighter, etc. And all I was saying to myself was like, this is my weight class. Even when I used to watch Kovalev and like Andre Ward, I say, this is my weight class. Tony Belly, when I was growing up, he was a light heavyweight. I said, this is my weight class. These guys are going to probably end up fighting. And I feel like I know that this fight's going to happen with me and Joshua Buatsi. You know, he's a good fighter. I'm a good fighter right now. Hopefully we can both grow to be great fighters. That fight can change both of our lives for the better. I definitely think that fight's going to happen. 100%. When? I don't know. I'm not Mystic Meg. But if he keeps doing what he's doing, I keep doing what I'm doing. We're going to have a field day with entertaining the fans, putting on a good show, and having a good fight.
Just moving away from yourself. We've spoken enough about you.
Yes.
BT Sport pay-per-view this weekend.
Yes.
Josh Warrington versus Carl Frampton for the IBF World Featherweight title. Talk to me about the fight.
Big fight. Massive fight. Frampton for me is a world-class operator, world-class fighter. He's gone out there and proved himself on big stages a few times. I feel like the only big stage Jay Warrington fought on was against Lee Selby. Again, I watched that fight. He surprised the shit out of me. That fight, he was an animal. Lee Selby, again, I know Lee Selby. He's a quality fighter, very slick, great boxer. He was champion for a long time as well, innit? And Warrington just went in there and took it. Like, he went in there and said, like, he took it to him and won the fight for me quite convincingly. And for what, again, he's undefeated as well. Been the underdog several times, come through it. I don't know if he's the underdog in this fight, from what the public think, but because of the name, you know, Frampton's got a bigger name. I'm guessing he might be the underdog for this fight as well.
I think he's the betting underdog.
Yeah, he's the betting underdog, yeah. But for the boxing fans, everyone knows it's going to be a fantastic fight. So I'm just looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll be at the fight, and if people like to see what we was talking about earlier, a dust up, where two people are going to be trading and throwing leather, this is a fight to watch.
Obviously, you had the disappointment in LA. You missed out on a big show there.
Yes,
Was there ever any talk of you getting on the card in Manchester?
Initially, when we heard that we wasn't going to be on the bill, Frank said it straight away. We're going to see if we can get you on the 22nd. Again, after a thought process went through everybody, we just said, you know what, there's no rush. You know, we'll leave it to the new year. I was angry as well. So again, you never want to go into a training camp with bad energy or anything like that. So again, just like that, we're not rushing into anything, fight wise or career wise. We're not rushing into getting onto no shows either. So yeah, we said we're gonna leave it to the new year. Enjoy the little Christmas period. Everyone knows I like my food.
I was literally just about to say that. I was thinking in my head, you'd have been offered the fight on December the 22nd and thought, it's kind of the time where all the chocolates get opened around Christmas. Just finally, before I go, how's Champ?
Champ, man. Champ.
For people who don't know, I mean, Anthony, you can explain your relationship with Champ. I'm somebody who's been very privileged to see you with him, but just tell us a little bit about your relationship with Champ. Actual name Champ, by the way.
His name's Champ. You know what? I don't look at his condition. He's got a condition. I don't know. He don't walk like properly. How people consider to be properly.
Yeah, sure.
He's got. I don't know. He's 18 years old, but I don't even know his condition.
He's got a learning disability of some sort.
Something like that. But again, I don't see all that.
Yeah, sure.
I can tell this kid's got a big heart. He's very, very fond of me. He just loves me. He gets asked by so many different people, who's your favourite fighter? He always says Anthony Yard. And then people say, like some people, when he says Anthony, people say Anthony Joshua. He goes, no, Anthony Yard. He makes it so known I'm his favourite fighter. He comes to all my fights. Literally, and he's got a heart of gold. He actually bought me, his mum and his dad bought me a Christmas card and a Christmas present yesterday when I was in training. Literally, heart of gold. Very, very lovely young boy. Yeah, it's Champ, man. And his birth name is Champ.
When can we expect to see you in the ring?
Probably February. Sometime in February. I'm hearing it's going to be February 23rd. So yeah. Don't know too much details about it yet, so don't ask me. As I said, New Year, that's when we will have the meeting, look at opponents, etc. But yeah, as I said, 2019, stay tuned.
Okay,
Lions in the camp.
I was waiting for that.
Lions!
There we go, he shouts.
You jumped on camera.
You made me jump the last time, but I was actually off camera, so that kind of that allowed me to hide it. Always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you very much for coming down to the studio today. Yes. New surroundings.
It's a fantastic studio.
What I will say before we go is I do hope whatever the fights are that you get next year, that you get the opportunity to showcase your talents. I think I speak for a lot of boxing fans when I say that we just want to see you in good fights.
Yes.
And whatever those fights are, whether they're British, European, world, we want to see you tested. Yes. I want to see you get hit on the chin.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, I like you, and I wouldn't hit you myself.
Ain't gonna happen.
But yeah, because I mean, you know, charming, good-looking prospect.
Oh, thank you, boy.
Well, you know, I had to. Boxing fans just want to see you tested, and you're very level-headed in the sense of criticism that you do get. I think you can sift out what's appropriate criticism and what's not.
100%.
But yeah, boxing fans just want to see you in good fights, Anthony, and we hope to see that in 2019.
Come on.
As always, a pleasure to speak to Mr. Anthony Yard. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you.
So that was unbeaten light heavyweight contender Anthony Yard. Looking forward to seeing him back in the ring at some stage in 2019. Our final piece is our regular feature, The 10 Count, in which we speak to members of the boxing community about their experiences in the sport so far and ask them 10 questions. This week, we're joined by Shane McGuigan, the 2016 Boxing Writers Association of America Trainer of the Year, trainer to the likes of George Groves, Josh Taylor, and previously Carl Frampton and David Hay. Have a look at what he had to say.
Biggest influence on my career would be my old man Barry, the clone of Cyclone McGuigan. Obviously, growing up in boxing from when I was My dad's always been involved in it. He was in punditry. My uncle was the trainer as well, so our house has just been boxing mad since I was a kid. So I kind of filtered into that, but then Dad trained me as an amateur, and I spent endless time watching him, and yeah, he taught me everything I knew. Well, I know now about boxing. Obviously, I've picked some stuff up for myself since then, and there's been other influences since then. But yeah, he definitely have to be the number one. My favourite, I mean, there's many. There's I loved the Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, when he was coming through. Huge for the weight, hard puncher, always took it to you. And then I kind of started watching Hopkins. He was brilliant. James Toney, that sort of shoulder roll, and I started really appreciating boxing. But the one that I really gravitated towards was Manny Pacquiao from just watching him hit the bag and hit the pads. I used to just watch him training and sparring and just going through sparring partners, and I just thought that's amazing. But in hindsight, being a welterweight, light middleweight, I probably should have stayed a little bit clear of that. But yeah, no, he was my favourite fighter. Favourite fight for me would be Diego Corrales versus Castillo, number one. Just the fact that there was ups and downs and a high quality of boxing. Obviously people always say about Gatti versus Ward. I think the skill set, the inside work against Castillo versus Corrales was amazing. And obviously, being a coach now, seeing the corner work from Goose and seeing, you better fucking get him now. Whenever he was hurt and spat the gum shit out, it had everything. It had everything, and it swayed the fight. And that was definitely my favourite fight. Best moment in boxing. It's been a lot of good ones, but I had to say, working with George and seeing him win a world title on the fourth attempt, just seeing him being written off and getting close to him, and his family, and just seeing that happen, seeing his hand get raised, and then obviously what's come off the back of it as well. He's set for life now, and he's it was an amazing moment, that. There's been a few sickeners in terms of fights. Seeing David snap his Achilles was a pretty tough one, because he didn't look great in that fight, but he was starting to get a little bit going, and then he snapped his Achilles, and that was pretty tough. But I'd say just the constant training and then when fights fall through, that's probably the even bigger sickness, because a lot of my fighters base themselves in London and they live outside of it, and then just to see it all sort of just crumble, all those months of working, and then suddenly there's a setback. That's probably the toughest. All my stable are my mates, they're all my friends, and I couldn't say anyone is closer than the other. I've got Chris Billam-Smith that lives with me. I've got Liam Gregor that lives with me in camp, because they're at different stages of their career. But Pritchard as well, when he's up, he's just had a baby. But I'd say it'd probably be Joshy P, because he's another one of my staff, and he's been named godfather to his kid, and George, same thing. They're all close friends, but yeah, I'd say probably Joshy P. The best opponent that we've faced, we've had a few losses. Some have been from injury, i.e. David versus Tony, or Conrad lost as well, but that wasn't that world level. So the other two would be like George versus Callum Smith, or Carl versus Santa Cruz. And I feel that because Santa Cruz is a 3-weight world champion, I'd have to put it towards him because he's achieved a bit more. But Callum Smith was a phenomenal fighter as well. He was brilliant on the night and very calculated and measured and huge for the weight. So it'd be a sort of toss up between those two. Yeah, okay. Hardest punches without fail was David A. He's phenomenal power. But when I started working with him, he was quicker as well. So that power was coming in with even more speed. I could fit. There's a slight decline in his speed and power as the years went on. And I got him at the tail end of his career. Imagine what it would have been like taking him as his mid-20s. It would have been freakish. But pound for pound, I mean, George hits like a cruiserweight heavyweight. He really does. Campbell's a really hard puncher. Taylor punches is able to hold his power through combination, which is why he's so single shot. He's not a massive puncher, but it's how he can maintain the power in a 6-punch combination. That's what's really scary. So I'd say probably George would be pound for pound when he's on weight. Tough. Everyone's skilled in different ways. To keep it at length, I would say Luke. I'd say also Luke and George, really skillful. How they nullify someone coming in trying to walk them down. They're just brilliant at just controlling that distance and staying disciplined. In close, Taylor by far, he's unbelievable from mid-range. And from the eye, I always thought David he really knew how to break down a fight, and he had a great understanding in boxing as well. So, but I mean, they're all really talented in their own ways, and you got fighters that are. I'm working with Lee McGregor, who's only probably 20-30% of what he's going to be, so he could surprise us all. So I've given you 5 answers to the one question. Tricky. I think you got to go with Lomachenko. Just from recent sort of performance. Yeah, I'd go with Lomachenko. Just his balance, his skill set. He sees it in slightly slower motion. He's one of those guys that's just you would never bring a kid into the gym and say, all right, let's start replicating him, because what he does is just not normal. So I would say Lomachenko.
And that brings to an end this week's show. Interesting thoughts there from Shane McGuigan. Just before we wrap up, what was your biggest influence in your boxing career? Shane obviously mentioned his dad, Barry McGuigan. What was your biggest influence?
Probably my own father, a big influence. However, away from him, probably Brendan Ingle, I would say. Not just boxing, probably just in life. Probably the biggest influence outside of my own family that I've had of anyone. What
was Brendan like? I mean, it's something that we've spoken about before, but like, what was kind of Brendan's way? Everybody has like a story to tell about Brendan Ingle. What's yours?
When I first met Bren, believe it or not, I was quiet, I was shy. I was really shy actually when I first went there. Over time, I spent time with him. He took me everywhere. I used to litter pick the streets of Sheffield with him. I used to build walls. Some of the stuff he had me doing, like, it was the most pointless stuff ever, but it was just to get me out. It was to have me interaction with other kids, other people, himself. And over time, he brought me out of myself, and he is why I am what I am today. Good or bad, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's mainly thanks to him. You know, at a pivotal time in my life, he came along and brought me out of myself.
Okay, well, just before we go, you've been very honest throughout the whole podcast. Just final thoughts on this week's shows. First of all, Warrington Frampton. I mean, you've picked Warrington essentially. You've favoured Warrington throughout. Is he going to be your final pick come Saturday night?
I think it's going to have to be, yeah. I'm going to have to go for Warrington on points. I think it's going to be a close fight. You're not going to beat Carl Frampton out of sight. I don't believe anybody's going to beat him out of sight. I don't think he's going to get stopped. But I just think the freshness, the youth, the little bit of extra size, I think, will be a factor. I'm going to go for Warrington on points. Quite comfortably as well.
Okay, and the heavyweight dust-up, Dillian White versus Derek Chisora in their rematch at the O2. Who are you picking?
Yeah, I'm going for Dillian White on points. I was debating with myself a late stoppage, but Chisora is really tough. You know, and Dillian White, he can punch, but he's not the biggest puncher in the world. And I think to stop Derek Chisora, you're going to have to either put him out cold or do what Tyson did to him, which was frustrate him. And I don't think Dillian will do either of them things. I think Dillian will win a close, contested point decision again.
Okay, and just finally, before we go, I mean, you've been very selfless and talking about everybody else. What's going on with you? When can we expect to see you back in the ring?
I'm just having a bit of time off at the minute, enjoying myself. I'm going to be back April 13th, I believe, at Wembley. I'm not sure who. We think Lucas Brown. I hope Lucas Brown, it's a big fight, you know. But April 13th is penciled in, pending in my mind. So yeah, I think Lucas Brown at Wembley, which is massive. You know, I'm excited talking about it now. So yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Maybe get Lucas Brown on the podcast beforehand. That might be interesting.
Yeah, I like Lucas Brown. I can't wait to see him, to meet him, and we talk a lot. You know, every time my phone goes off, it's Lucas Brown. We got on really well. No animosity, no nothing. I think it's just going to be a good, you know, it's a fight you could probably see outside Wetherspoon most Friday nights, but, you know, if people want to pay us to do it on TV, that's fine.
Okay. Well, as always, it's a pleasure sitting down with you. I hope everybody's enjoyed the show, the new Boxing Social podcast. Thanks very much to all of our guests and our lovely co-host, the Doncaster De La Hoya, White Rhino Dave Allen. Thanks very much for watching. Do feel free to leave a comment with any thoughts of whether or not you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.